Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR412. It's the monthly NXT update, and I am not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by the one and only, the guy that joins me on every NXT update. It's Monty. How you doing?
I'm doing the best I can, man. I'm happy to be here once again for another review of our little. I don't even know if we call it a guilty pleasure anymore. It's just something to feel guilty about sometimes when it comes to 2.0. But NXT in general as a brand is kind of like our baby at this point. So I'm happy to get another update on what's been going on with our little, our two children.
No, today do have Roadblock, the latest on the network, and NXT UK review. Like I said, that is the saving grace of NXT. But we start with news. But before we get on to because like I said with the news, it was the kind of debacle. I woke up, as we recorded on a Saturday, peered behind the curtain, we recorded on a Saturday, released on a Sunday. And the kind of shitstorm that happened on SmackDown. We will get onto that in a minute. But first, a couple other bits, because it is... and Vader has been announced to be the latest inductee into the Hall of Fame of 2022. Anybody that doesn't know about him, hailing from the Rocky Mountains, the 450-pound Vader, first made a splash in the rings of Japan, where he destroyed Hall of Famer Nxt Uk in a wildly controversial match. Japanese fan was so distraught over seeing the hero dismantled by the gigantic Vader that a riot broke out at Tokyo Sumo Hall. This pandemonium only further fueled Vader's aggression. A long line of competitors fell to the devastating maneuvers, particularly bone-crushing Vader Sull. The Mastodon continues to assert its dominance in Japan. And we should say, whilst in Japan, I think, Monty, you can confirm this, I think the match with Stan Hansen, didn't he get his eyeball, knocked out?
Yes, literally popped out of his face. No lies about it. I don't know if you still can find the footage, but I don't know what I was watching, but I've literally seen footage of it. And it's kind of in the same vein of Mick Foley's injuries of losing an ear in the ring. This is literally, and he kept going. Didn't even matter. The eye popped out, and he kept wrestling. Yeah, that just shows you how tough he was. If you're wondering if Vader was a tough guy,
well, there you go. He actually did that, and then moved over to Europe and Mexico, and the Path of Destruction brought him to World Championship Wrestling in the early 90s, where he became one of the biggest stars with Hall of Famer Harley Race in his corner. If you've never seen Vader from this time, Harley Race is a kind of unused jewel, I think people realise how good he was. Vader, of course, battled legends like Sting, and the matches with Sting are worthwhile. Of course, Ric Flair, more famously, as well, a couple of real classics, and Cactus Jack as well. And weirdly enough, with Ron Simmons, that we're going to speak about as well, of course, coming World Heavyweight Champion, then moved to WWF or WWE in 1996. And again, it's a bit of a shame with Vader because he was suffering from an injury as soon as he moved over. And we've actually covered it on the podcast in the past because he had some problems. Of course, with Shawn Michaels shouting at him during their SummerSlam 1996 match as well, and kind of ruining that main event push. But 97 did pick up a little bit. Of course, victories over The Undertaker at Royal Rumble. But again, never really reached that level of a main event talent. Monty, what were your thoughts on Vader? And a very silly question, does he deserve to be into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, man, you're right about that being silly. He definitely deserves to be there. It's overdue in that regard, because I honestly was very shocked when he passed that he wasn't immediately announced. But that's just how much I love Vader. Vader was one of those guys that transcended a wrestling company. Yeah, you mentioned Japan, WCW, a lot of his the stomping grounds that he dominated, but it didn't really matter. Big Van Vader was known, it didn't matter what company. Everyone knew. I remember watching Boy Meets World growing up and seeing Vader. So literally, I saw him out of the mask for the first time. I was losing one of the first times. I was losing my mind, not realizing that he had unmasked, before it, plenty of times. It wasn't the same prestige as your, luchadors unmasking, but it was still cool as hell to see the man under the mask. And from like you said, you just mentioned all of the stopping points. If you're thinking about it from a purely WWE standpoint, you probably can make the case that he may not have been a deserving, but I don't think anyone thinks it had anything really to do with him. Like, it was a lot of stuff going on, injuries and, politics and, people not really liking him. But everyone looks at his run in WWE as like what could have been because they know how good Vader, was. And, yeah, man, he was awesome. I think it's overdue. I love Vader. As someone, again, I've always been a heavier set person. Even when I was a kid, I was bigger than most kids. So I love the bigger wrestlers, the people who did not fit that mold of, being ripped to shreds and all of that. And Vader was a perfect monster for those guys who were ripped to shreds to try to overcome. So, and I just really love, he did a moonsault, like you said, like the same vein we put a Bam Bam Bigelow at, the Vader bomb is still done regularly to this day, off by bigger characters who can pull it off, or even other characters are doing it now. So, but yeah, he transcended what you thought a big guy could do in the ring, even if it wasn't in the same way that others have done it. He was a legend amongst legends. I love Vader. It's Vader time. I'm very, very happy. It's about damn time for him. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, without that, like I said, anybody's not seen him before. Even in WCW with the kind of helmet he'd come out
right with the shoulder pads.
Yeah. And also anybody's not seen it, just watch throwing forearms in the corner. Like no one did that. Like,
yes. No protection either.
No.
Like you weren't gonna protect yourself too. Like he was just straight up throwing them. Like it was just straight to the face. It was sick.
It was a thing of beauty, and of course, an absolute legend. Like I said, deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Also, news from this week as well is WWE 2K22 was finally released on March 8th. Of course, the series had taken a year off after 2K20 nearly crippled the entire brand, I would say. Have you been I mean, because it's a bit weird, because usually I'll be first off to get these games, but I did buy
I had to wait it out.
I've not done it yet, because the pre-order here for the NWO one was like £104.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I can spend. I still think £60 for a game is quite expensive, so it's one of those things of, I thought I'll wait to hear the reviews. I don't know if you felt the same.
Yeah, I was the same way, and I messed around and I got swayed just yesterday, by the way, to just go ahead and do it, because I've heard a lot of positive. I've also heard a little bit of negative, but it's just from my first impressions from just a day of having it. It's a major improvement over 20. And if you're like me and you've been playing these wrestling games forever and you're just used to it, like I'm a type of person where it's almost to this point to where I need to scratch that itch. Like I still was playing WWE 2K19 while 20 was broken for those 2 years, because I love playing wrestling games, whether it's just to set up my own little scenarios, create people, whatever it is. I love those. I just love the concept. I love doing it. I've always have since I was like 4 years old, and I played No Mercy, and then WrestleMania 2000. So, like literally, as I was a young fan, wrestling games is one of those things that, at times when I took breaks from watching wrestling games was the way I stayed connected to who was still wrestling over the years growing up. Now that I think back on it, but yeah, so 22 swayed me with the new My Rise mode and a couple of other things that I've been hearing about, them bringing my GM back and all of that. Like I said, it's from what I got so far. I only have 1 day of experience. It is a fun experience, and it's way better than 20 already. But 20 was a mess, so that doesn't mean this is without faults, if you know what I mean. And I do not blame you for taking your time, because I was in the same boat. I was like, I really need to see what are people saying about this. How is it received? Well, it looks beautiful. The looks are great, but it is a big chunk of the roster. It is sad too. It's one of those bittersweet, because it's people like Jeff Hardy and some of these other people look great, and then you realize these people are no longer here. Braun Strowman looks great, no longer here. You know what I mean? So no longer in WWE. So it's kind of sad in that retrospect, but they really needed that roster, because if you take off the 30 or so people that are no longer with the company, oh my goodness, that game would have been bare bones, just legends and like 12 people that you recognize. I'm over exaggerating, but anyway, go. I think so far it's a fun experience. I'll let you know as time goes on if it's worth the money, but I definitely did not get the NWO pack. I got the standard edition.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, as I said, the game does feature a deep roster of superstars and legends, and also, like I said, the GM mode, where players take control of one of WWE's 4 brands in an effort to make it the premier brand, and as a result, the GM mode features a number of local talents for players to book the matches the brand grows.
Yeah.
But posted on social media, indie wrestling former ICW champion Lou King Sharp pointed out he come across a familiar face in the game. Wrestler is another name, Red Monsoon, who shares a crazy resemblance to British wrestling legend Drew McDonald, who was born in Perth. McDonald rose to prominence during British wrestling boom period in the 80s, starting out in his native Scotland. He moved south to England in 1984, joining joint promotions with the biggest ones in the country. In the remainder of the decade, his regular presence appearing alongside names like Big Daddy and Haystacks, and after the collapse of wrestling and ITV, the Scot made his way to the famous Stampede wrestling promotion in Canada, when he faced the likes of a young Chris Benoit, working under the name of Ben Doon McDonald. He later returned to the UK, competing against British stalwarts like Robbie Brookside and Dave Finlay. He remained active in the 2000s, wrestled his last match in 2013, and sadly passed away February 9th, 2015, age 52, after a battle of cancer. And on that night's episode of Monday Night Raw, now for Star WWE page, paid tribute to British legend, performing the words "R.I.P. Drew McDonald" painted on her arm. So there you go. Maybe that's a little inside thing. Maybe people didn't realise.
I definitely didn't. I haven't played my GM yet, so I damn sure didn't know it was a resemblance. But nice history lesson there, man. You know, I knew of McDonald, but I didn't even know about the whole paying homage. I didn't even realize it. I probably watched that show and didn't even see it when Paige did that. That's what Paige. Only part of that I wasn't familiar with. But appreciate you for that history lesson.
Every now and again, I wanted a little bit of positive before we got into SmackDown, because usually we don't talk about WWE. But like I said, my phone blew up basically this morning, because usually I don't stay up late because it finishes at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But a couple of things did happen. Sheamus and Ridge Holland were being interviewed prior to the match against the New Day, when they said they brought someone along with them, and it was Pete Dunne, but they called him Butch. Yes, Butch. It looks like he's going to be part of the group. Michael Cole mentioned Butch has been added to the group, so you see how it plays out. Monty, I'll let you take this first, because probably the greatest NXT champion of all time, a man who I've loved in NXT for the past 4 years, a man who actually built NXT UK and held it on his back for a couple of years, has now moved up to the main roster, and it's called fucking Butch. Please help me.
I don't know if anything I'm going to say is going to make it any better. But what was the underrated part of this is, by the way, is the way Sheamus delivered it. You may know him by another name. No shit. We definitely know him by another name, Sheamus. But this is his nickname. I'm holding on to hope. I think is this hope. I'm not telling you guys to do it, because if it let us all down, then it's going to be my fault, because I told you guys to hold on to the hope. But I'm letting you know that personally, I'm just hoping that since he said it's a nickname, that they don't have to hold on to this, but like long. But I think Michael Cole confirmed it with the way he talked about him during even Pat McAfee was in a faction with this guy and didn't even want to entertain what his name was long, even though I do think he mentioned Pete Dunne. So I thank you, Pat, for at least mentioning that name exists. But it's really disheartening. We talked about it with Gunther. We talked about it, I've talked about it many times just on this show when I say just stop changing stuff for the sake of changing stuff. So even when Bearcat Lee first appeared, I think I probably told you then, why are they changing stuff for the sake of changing stuff? So, here go another one of those things. I think we all knew it would be difficult for Dunn if he ever got called up. I just don't think I ever would imagine that you would have a guy who reigned as long. I think it also really shows, before I get to that, it shows how much attention they paid to NXT. in NXT UK. Because a guy like him who reigned as long as he did over, like you said, put that brand on his back, was the lifeline of NXT UK, established what we know it is as a brand. For him to just get, no, just gonna call him Butch. He got his hair shaved to the side or whatever logic they came up with that made him come up with that. Because that's another thing. What's the logic behind that name?
It's the thing is when
give me the logic. But anyway,
Vince used to give like Dusty Rhodes polka dots when he'd move,
right?
You would say, oh, because he was a big star in the other territory and he's come here and he needs to kind of start from the ground up. You do not shit on your own doorstep. Pete Dunne fought to rebuild this legacy that you've just completely kind of undermining and destroying, and it's so annoying because the talent speaks for itself, and sometimes you out their character because they can connect with the crowd differently. And this is why what made NXT so special is that maybe it wasn't over the top characters, but you know what each one was about. And like I said, the Bruiserweight, Pete Dunne, maybe, association with Sheamus and Ridge. Ridge makes sense because obviously he teamed up with NXT.
Right.
Just like
history.
Just Butch. I mean, how are you going to start a chant? Like, what's going to happen?
You don't.
Doudrop, we thought personally was kind of the worst one, and then it's just whoever is coming up with the names in WWE just needs to stop, because you are.
Yeah.
It's just so difficult. It's so, especially when the podcast is built from NXT UK and all the talent. The only thing we've kind of got left from the very beginning now, when we started in like 2015, is like the Women's Revolution and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Like that's the kind of the only things that we've had in the past few years, and it seems everything else. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you want to watch great NXT talent, just watch like AEW now with the amount they've got.
Yeah,
but it's just I can't.
Was they paying attention to Hook? Maybe they were going for that because they're like, somehow a guy named Hook is over. Maybe we could get something like Butch. Because chat Butch.
Who's ever called for Butch? I don't know. Who's going to call Butch? Like it's Butch. Like I can't. It's just. Honestly, I've never been in the 7 years I've done this. I honestly cannot believe we're going to wake up tomorrow and just. I thought Gunter was the worst, but it is. It is.
It actually makes me not mind Gunter.
Well, it's just.
Butch is so bad that I don't know if I care about Gunter. But
I can't defend it. There is no rhyme or reason to change. Pete Dunne is not registered under WWE. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not a commercial thing. It's nothing to do.
You're really hitting it on the money with the whole shitting on your own doorstep, because it's just like they built up what we think, like everything we know about Pete Dunne, as far as like, you know what I mean? They built it up.
Yep.
This it still says WWE on the product, even though it's NXT. So why are you working so hard to just take away all that work? I just don't get it.
They must have hated the Adam Cole Pete Dunne match at Survivor Series. That's the.
They had to, right? And think about it, I don't know how true the rumors was with Cole, but they're gonna call him what, Bulge, or something like that. So Bulge and Butch. What is going on? And I feel bad for Pete because they offered him this after the 5-year deal or whatever, I think. So, they didn't do it until after they've already locked him in. Even if he wanted to run away like people think like he could, he would have to do a pop and just disappear until his contract up or something.
But it's PG as well, and Butch and Ridge are not a PG tag team. They are male strippers. It's just not. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish.
Oh my God, that's a good point.
Let's call for Butch and Ridge. Wait a minute. The policeman. Wait a minute, that's not their truncheon. It's just. I can't.
Oh, no.
I can't. And it's not like I'm not going to defend WWE because there's nothing to defend. There is no...
I don't know. Wait, give me one, please. Try your best to come up with a defense.
If anybody listening to this, anybody on Twitter thinks this is and not an AEW fan that is at this moment.
Trolling.
Yeah, like a true WWE fan who loves the promotion, who kind of never ever, always gets upset. Everybody has a go at them. Tell us why this is a good idea, because in my 20 fucking years of watching wrestling, I cannot believe what happened. And like you said, Twitter exploded. Even the group chat that we have, I know people will be jealous now listening, but obviously with the pod, it just went mental as well,
Yeah, I mean, how could you not though, man? It's just one of them things that you just can't help. It's like every time it seems like WWE is getting away from doing something that make them the laughing stock or something. They're like, oh, we haven't done something stupid in a month. Here we go. Let's put this out there. Let's do this.
Honestly.
How about this? Let's try this month or whatever. Because as much as I love WWE, I'm just like you. I got a lot of years in watching the product and watching a lot of stuff that's happening. I'm just you can't defend it, man. You have to call it out when you see it. And I think I just don't understand. It's a trend that we want to stop.
Yeah,
that's another thing too. You just want this to end. They cannot continue to build up people and then just make them something new on the fly that makes no sense. And then don't do it. Don't start it off like that. Like, I don't understand. But this is like I told you earlier. We love wrestling. They want to make us question it. I think sometimes. Do you really love this stuff? Let's do something stupid and test your love.
Well, the problem is as well with SmackDown, and we thought that maybe going to be the worst thing to happen. And in all seriousness,
nope.
During a match between Sheamus and Ridge and a New Day, on the outside of the ring, Holland attempted to suplex and Big E, which was not executed correctly. Looks like the botch takedown resulted in Big E landed on his head, rolled away alive, motionless a few feet from the accident, creating silence amongst the crowd. And the cameras did not show Big E for the remainder of the match. And just hours after the horrific incident, Big E released a video where he's wearing a neck brace. He said he could still feel his fingers and all that lot, which was good, but it had indeed broke his neck. Like I said, it is horrible. Big E suffering this injury. Seems like one of the nicest guys, and the amount of support he's had on Twitter since then as well. Before I get your thoughts on that, people trying to blame Ridge Holland. There is no way any talent wants another talent to be injured. As Bret Hart used to say, you put your life in the hands of the person you're working with. And Ridge was one of the first people to be at the hospital to see him. And if anybody feels bad about it, I bet he feels terrible. And sometimes, even with the suplex, even people on Twitter I saw earlier going, well, he didn't throw him high enough. He didn't release him right. Well, again, as you know with wrestling, it's a partnership between the two. And I'm sure Big E doesn't blame him whatsoever, but it's a horrible thing because Big E obviously is just such a sweetheart as well. What are your thoughts on this horrible situation?
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's a horrible situation, and when you think about it, it's just like a horrible bow to kind of put on the story of Big E. Like, just go back a few months ago, January. Really, it started probably at day one. Like, really, since 2022 hit. It's been rough when you think about WWE and Big E right now. And just for it to kind of confirm, well, we won't be at Mania now, most likely, or whatever, a lot of the big stuff that's coming up, you're going to have to push aside. And we all hoping for a speedy recovery. But, again, it's just really sad when you put everything in perspective about where he was a few months ago and then now what's going on. So it just kind of sucked that's kind of where his story is right now, but I do think it is a setup for a major comeback and a great story. Not only that, but I just feel like we all love Big E, but when something like that happens to someone like that, and you just see the outpour of love, it crossed company lines, man. AEW, it didn't matter where you were from. People were all sending prayers, sending love to Big E. It was, like you said, just one of those moments where, as a wrestling fan, if you watch a lot of wrestling, like I have, that these things happen, but that never really prepares you for how you feel when it happens. And I agree with you 100% about Ridge. If you look at the clip back, when he kind of saw what happened, or like how he landed, I think he kind of got a hint of it. And like you can kind of see him kind of, you can see Ridge almost want to go and check immediately on him, but he couldn't because, he just threw, the spot. He wanted everything to make sense still, so he had to just kind of lay there. And I can just immediately only imagine what was going through his mind laying there like, oh my God, imagine what's going through your mind there when something just don't go as planned. When we're all human, we all can make that mistake. You just don't want it to happen, like that on that stage during the show, stuff like that. So it sucks for everybody involved. Like, when you really think about it, it sucks that Holland is going to get unfair criticism, get told he's unsafe. I heard people bringing up when something happened similarly to Gargano years ago, and it's just like, okay, so now they're already trying to label him as, unsafe when, like you said, it happens. It's an accident, man. And like,
right, sorry. Someone called him male. Someone called him the male, like
Nia. Yeah, they were comparing him to Nia, which I always thought was unfair to Nia, honestly, because these things happen. Yeah, she had a bad run, and multiple people got injured, but those things happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, Owen Hart is one of the greatest of all time, no doubt about it. He dropped Austin on his head. We all know the spot. So, like, does that make Owen Hart overall horrible and need to get rid of him and all that type of stuff? No, that didn't. Those things happen. Austin did it years before that to someone else too. So Austin's not a great of all time because those things happen in this business. You have to be honest with yourself and be real, no matter what you think about someone. And but when it comes to this, like you said, you just hate to see that it happened to a guy like Big E. But Big E is such an amazing person that with a neck brace on and probably some of the worst pain ever, he still was trying to be positive, show everybody he was smiling. It's just like, how can you not love that dude, man? It's just like, it sucks. It really, really sucks. And hearing that Holland was one of the first ones there at the hospital makes a lot of sense because, again, no one wants to be in that situation. Either way, you don't want to be the guy that gets injured. You definitely don't want to be the person to do it. Because, it's just like you said, a person's livelihood, everything, they're trusting you with that for one spot, whatever it is. And if one thing go wrong, everything can switch over and all that. But I'm just saying, these things happen, and I think a lot of fans have to be honest about that part of it. But, yeah, I'm just like you guys. I'm just as sad and just as hurt that this happened to Big E. But, both sides got to be kind of brought up there that these things happen in this business. And I know, like you said, Holland, no way anyone wants that to happen. You don't want to be labeled as someone who doesn't know, who can't protect the person there the people there in the ring with. I take, for example, Keith Lee literally just launched Orange Cassidy over that rope and legitimately, his shoulders now injured. I heard not a whisper about how, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, Keith Lee is this and that because we understand that these things happen. You know what I mean?
Even in a weird way, like I said, you put it in perspective. Look at Drew McIntyre, Madcap Moss.
Yes, that's perfect. I thought about it. Legitimately right on his head. Similarly, right.
And if he'd have been out with a broken neck, the response might have been not good. Why? Because he's with Happy Corbin. Because we like Drew McIntyre. So, like I said,
right.
Because it is Big E, it does kind of, like I said, heighten the impact, so to speak. But again, you got to look. We had like a warning sign there. So maybe it's something WWE, as I said with AEW when it went through this, is to kind of have a look at it, maybe ban overhead belly-to-belly suplex with its talent you can trust in pile driver. Mm-hmm. And there's different variation you can do as well. But like you said, you just need to, it's horrible what happened to Big E, but let's not get on, kind of Ridge's back. He's got enough going on teaming up with Butch. So let's kind of,
exactly. Like that's the funny part. You brought this up, but this was literally right after they told us who Butch was. So like, the match, by the way, was going well. The crowd was into it. That's why it was so obvious that the crowd deafened because they were really into it. And then that happened, and it was like, oh, okay, whoa, Let's get out of here. So that just kind of left a sour taste in general. It was like two things in a row. Like, you already changed, he done. And now Big E is hurt. Like, oh my God, my heart can't take it.
Let's change one of the names of the greatest wrestlers of his generation. And one of the most liked wrestlers probably in WWE history.
Right. Oh my God.
This. But, like I said, it is a shame, and hopefully, like you said, he can recover and make a big, big return. And speaking of big returns as well, there were rumors about Stone Cold Steve Austin making his big comeback, of course, with Kevin Owens saying how much he hates Texas. And Kevin Owens invited Stone Cold to Texas for WrestleMania, and Stone Cold did respond by saying, 19 years ago I wrestled my last match in a WWE ring. After 3 rock bottoms, I lost the match, and for 19 years I had to live with that defeat, knowing my time was up. Kevin Owens, I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for waking something up deep inside me that I've kept buried for 19 years. Ever since you started running that merely mouth of yours talking about the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, you got my attention. Why would you want to do that, Kevin? I can think of 2 reasons. 1, you are one dumb, and this is why I love Austin, son of a bitch. And 2, you are fixing till you get your ass kicked by Stone Cold Steve Austin. We want to call this a KO show, a match, a fight, a brawl, whatever. I'm going to guarantee you this. In Dallas, Texas, where I started my career at WrestleMania, Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to open one last can and whoop ass on your Kevin Owens. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. It was just wonderful. It's not even happened, and I was cheering.
Right? Oh my goodness! It was. She did. I think this is so great, also because it's a lot of young people now who know Stone Cold, may have seen him give some stunners growing up, may know about him, when he pops up, 316 day and all of that. But they may not even understand or grasp the concept and how good of a promo Austin was, especially as he settled into the Stone Cold character over the years. Like that really gave me the old school goosebumps of just remembering how Austin used to put his, like you said, the son of a bitch, just everything Austin does, the inflections, the mealy mouth, still saying mealy mouth, I just love it. I love it. Austin was always so good at that, delivering the promo, getting his point across. I love how he even flirted with. We know it probably won't be an official match, but he said it don't matter if it's a fight, it's a brawl. I just love how he entertained everything. It could be just a promo. I love it because it gives us something, and it gives us, not only is it Austin in Texas, anytime Austin's on the screen, like I said, when they just had him doing nothing on Austin Day a few years ago, I still watched it because it's Austin. You know what I mean? I don't really care. He's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He is honestly, I can make the case. And some other people I also like to make the case for, so I'm fickle. It depends on how I feel. But you can make the case that Austin is the greatest of all time. And I know he would never say it. He likes Ric Flair. A lot of other people don't say it, but I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. I always have. So, and I just don't, you can't tell me anything bad about him, honestly, as far as his career in the ring and all of that. So, and what he did for WWE as a brand, he's still the biggest name. Nobody gets, other than maybe Dwayne, other than The Rock, who I put right up there with him in my mind. I don't think anybody gets the reaction or when his name is on the show, WWE's ratings are about to get a little boost or something because Austin is there, and it's just because he's big time, and whatever he does with Kevin, because I'm also confident and I love Kevin. Whatever they end up doing is going to end up being entertaining as hell. I know that. So I'm ready for it too, man. I really am.
Yeah, without that, like I said, I'm looking forward to Saturday night for WrestleMania for that to take place. And speaking of Stone Cold, actually, we move on to latest on the network. We did have a Broken Skull sessions, this time with Ron Simmons. First off, I got to say, I love Ron Simmons and his spine busters. His spine busters was the kind of thing where we talked about this earlier about
Jay.
Protecting each other, and Ron was just like, "Get the fuck off!" That's how his
he did it so angry. It's the same thing with his. I know Randy has a great one. I'm trying to think who else. I think even DDP had a good one. A lot of people have a nice snap power slam. But Ron Simmons' power slam is another monster. Like you said, that explosion. He just did everything with so much passion. So, and I think that's led into those spine busters. I like to. People have to bear with me because personally, this is what I called them because they look so distinct. I call them a black man spine buster because when Ron does it, it just looks different than when anybody else did it. So I just feel that's. Power, you know what I mean?
It'd be the equivalent of
I just love it, man.
It's the equivalent of holding a bag with both arms, and then the person you're holding the bag for just goes, what are you doing that for? And you just go, fuck you, and you throw the bag the way you throw a bag. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
The complete impact of it, and then people.
Because spine busters are cool, but if you put like an extra front on it, like I love double A spine busters, but man, it ain't nothing. Like you said, Ron Simmons picked you up and then was like, "Get off me! Like, why are you touching me? Like, why are you touching me?"
It was unbelievable, and like the thing with Ron Simmons as well, obviously, because I know him APA days and a little bit maybe beforehand, but even when he was talking about football, American football, and when he say his jersey was retired, I'm guessing that means he's pretty good. There's not many guys.
He's in the Florida State Hall of Fame. Like he was a defensive lineman, and he almost won the Heisman Trophy, which just doesn't happen all the time. And I know that may sound foreign, but just look at that as the greatest honor for an individual player in college football, in a college American football here. So, yeah, he was that guy. And at the University of Florida State where he went, he is, like Austin mentioned it a couple of times, he is a god for the stuff he was able to do on a football field. So, yeah, he's the man.
Well, like you said, Hiro Matsuda saw Ron and started to recruit him to become a pro wrestler. Ron said he was a fan of wrestling thanks to his grandma, who loved Bullet Bill Armstrong. And because of that, he fell in love with it. Ron had played 3 years in the USFL and was on the same team with Lex Luger. Lex had started his wrestling with Matsuda, and Ron mentions there weren't a ton of black men in wrestling at the time. And like I said, he kind of talks about this, but there's some great clips here of him wrestling Yokozuna pre-WCW days. And the weight of Yoko as well, we saw a bit on the Icon series of how, what shape he was. And then, of course, in WCW wrestling stunning Steve Austin. How great was that, the two guys kind of look back? And it was a kind of really close relationship as well, weren't there?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, but it was really, really nice to see. But once I thought about it, it made a lot of sense with their background, because Austin played football too. He wasn't anywhere, like he even mentioned, he wasn't anywhere as good as Ron was at athletics, but he was an athlete in high school and in college, just like Ron was. So they anybody who kind of had that background and played American football kind of had I played American football, so I know it's kind of easy to find a common ground with it, because you put your body through a lot of trash to really play American football. So it's like one of those things that if you really got far in it, you automatically get respect, and you can just hear that respect. And like you said, just our old friendship come out throughout this conversation and the stories that they told. He mentioned it all. I think for most of the stories, Austin had to clarify, we talked about this off camera, but you know what I mean? Because they literally seemed to really like talking to each other. So it was real cool to see that, especially from two people who didn't really cross paths much really during the peaks of or like the most notable times in their career, if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's weird. That's an excellent point, because it's like they're on the same rosters, but like you said, the match interaction didn't really happen a lot, And then they talk about the move to WWF and the blue gladiator outfit. And the thing I loved about this was Ron, who knew it was probably as ridiculous as anybody else. And that is when you can tell he's a good guy, because he was pissing himself laughing about it.
Yeah, it's like he just couldn't he couldn't even explain it to his wife. The outfit was so bad. He's just like, he couldn't even explain it. And I love it because the story makes so much sense. I can see why he would have been excited, because you can imagine Vince just building this gladiator, like, he's going to be awesome. Like, Conan, you know what I'm saying? Just building it, right? Spartacus. And then the next day, Spartacus, exactly. Spartacus. And then, like, he gets there and he see that outfit. He's like, what the hell is this? Like, it's great. It was a great moment. And then I love how Austin kind of tied it back to the Ringmaster, because it's also a great reference of how sometime when Vince, when he gets you in the company first, he, don't always know what to do with you right off the bat, So even to greats like them, it was like that. So it was nice to finally get that backstory, because I knew when I originally watched it, because I used to be a fan of Ahmed Johnson. I've seen that clip when he attacked him and made his debut, and it was always nice because I couldn't imagine it from growing up and knowing the Farouk. I knew when I saw that was his debut many years later, I was like, who, what? Farouk?
This is the thing, and from that, it didn't really last long, as like you said, that gladiator, because the Nation of Domination came around, and Farouk was talking about saying his own stuff here. And what a group when you think about, when you think about a wrestling group, and I know there might be certain undertones with stories and stuff like that, but, when a wrestling group, you want to build kind of world champions from that, apart from D'Lo, I mean, the Godfather as well, but, Mark Henry became champion after that because of the kind of what he learned from that, and they built, like we talked about earlier, probably the biggest star in history,
right?
With The Rock, and if, I like when Farouk said, no, we could just do what we want, and they learned from us. This was the kind of thing of being together as a group, and it kind of, you look at their careers and their groundings, you can see why each of them became success in their own right.
Yeah, and what I like too was like the progression, because earlier he mentioned how Teddy Long and Butch Reed, his old tag team partner, taught him. Like, it was a learning tree of that way. So it was kind of cool to see years later that it was kind of like a great. He became the teacher in the 7 or 8 years that had passed, or like I think it was earlier than that, possibly, so more than that. But either way it go, in the time that had passed, he was the teacher now and passing so much information on, and how The Rock used the foundation that was there to build The Rock as a character, and it made a lot of sense. And I'm a big fan of this run. He mentioned this too, and I don't even know if he notices it, but he was the first of a lot. Like, originally him joining wrestling was because Hiro Matsuda wanted to have more black wrestlers. Him winning the world title was even partly to try to attract more black people to watch, or black people to shows, in some part of what he mentioned. And also, he even mentioned that the reason why he was the first of a lot. And I don't think he understands that when you're the trailblazer there, like, how much, I don't know if we understand how much, as far as like black people in wrestling, I don't know if we have where we are now in wrestling, if people like Ron, is not there to be the trailblazer, because I can only imagine what he was going through back then, if you know what I mean. He even kind of hinted at it being really, really tough. So when you think about the Nation of Domination and being an entirely black group who all went along to prosper, even D'Lo, to what he's doing now in the wrestling business, I've been doing ever since, like, just being profitable black people and people in these positions. Later on, Mark Henry doing what he does now. But don't even mention what the Rock is out of this galaxy, right? So it's just like, when you think about that, like, it's just kind of awesome to see the learning tree where a lot of that greatness comes from, and that's what Farouk was here. And this was cool, and we haven't even got to the APA yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But even you mention it and him becoming world heavyweight champion, because the thing is, he doesn't make a big deal about it in a weird way, And it's like, yes, also it's like, well, your first black, kind of man to become a world heavyweight champion, and he's going, well, it's just something that happened. And you think anybody else? Someone like Larry Zbyszko crawls about being Bruno Sammartino's kind of betraying him and lives off that gimmick. And anybody else, like Eugene, Ron could have done that, but didn't. And like we talked about the Farouk outfit and coming and having that respect in the locker room, moving Stone Cold says, no one laughed at him. People might have thought it was ridiculous, but no one said anything.
I love how he kept mentioning how because Farouk does have an awesome voice. That's what makes the damn so perfect. The way he does damn is just awesome because of that voice. So when Austin would reference just how that voice, I think he said Ron would scare people just saying the ABCs because of how intimidating his voice was. So yeah, like I said, this was awesome for a lot of reasons, and it was also, like I said, I learned a lot, but it was also cool because of the length of it. I thought they gave each section of his career a lot. And they do that with a lot of these interviews, but just the way this was done and the way it kind of did a great little timeline for people who didn't know, because like a lot of us, like you mentioned, our introduction was Ron in the APA, and that's not even the best Ron Simmons. If you see what I'm trying to say, that's just like a lot of the Ron Simmons that we grew up on. So to think about that and really try to, get to know that awesome background, and get Austin to ask those questions, those great questions that he did. This was great.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like I said, just finishing off, it's all about Teddy Long as well, was a designated driver for JBL and Fruit, and ask him, what was different? He goes, well, me and JBL were just saying else from everything, But I think this sums up Ron Simmons as a person as well. Because you think about the APA run and all this kind of stuff. Ron knew his hip was going. And he didn't want to tell JBL because he didn't want Bradshaw to be able to either pick up the slack and be able to do that. Want to become his own man. So he didn't tell him he was going to retire. And then went off. And, of course, then JBL had that, as we said, became JBL, the career rejuvenation, even WWE champion.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You think if Ron didn't do that, Bradshaw might have been still wrestling 5 years later. And I think Ron Simmons knew that. So the man he was just like, look, stop. And when, like you said, you look back, when people just think he's an acolyte or, member of an APA, and what he's done transcending the business and not making a big deal of it, because trust me, if it was anybody else, it'd be shouting from the rooftops.
Yes.
It's just a really...
T-shirts, merch.
I
would literally have merch. First black world champ. That would be my T-shirt. Just plain white letters with a belt logo.
But like you said, really...
But Ron,
really
like you said, wouldn't even mention it. Like, he's surprised that many people still send him mail about how important it was. And I'm just like, bro, you don't understand. Like, we didn't even think it was, a lot of black people didn't think it was possible. Like, they were even more scared. Like, people still talk about representation now in wrestling, but it was even more scared when Ron, like literally. Like, I think Coco Beware and Junkyard Dog is like the only two people that you can even think of off the top of your head immediately from the era that Ron was. Because it was like mid-'80s when Ron started, I think. So,
like I said, phenomenal career and definitely works a check out. But we will now move on to NXT 2.0. And luckily, we've only got 3 episodes to cover on this one. So we start off February 22nd. We get highlights from Vengeance Day, and then Bron starts the show, and he tells us that Saturday, April 2nd, we're going to get Stan and Deliver. And like we said, we're going to review that and have Jaxie and Gina do NXT for the very first time on night 2.
Man, I hope they don't embarrass us.
You know what?
NXT
if we don't get perfect scores,
right? Oh my God! What if I predict that bad? I'm gonna be hurt. They can't beat us, James. No. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go.
No, anyway, we'll move on. Ziggler interrupts for a great promo. Dolph does look like such a star. Then we get LA Knight versus Grayson Waller. Knight made a comeback and he stomps his opponent in the corner, hit a net breaker, but then Sanger saved an employer from the BFT for Waller rolled up Knight with a handful of tights. Afterwards, Knight planted both Sanger and Waller, called himself the last man standing. I don't think the match wasn't too bad till the finish, but I think we're desperate for this to finish now, aren't we?
Yeah, honestly, this was fun, in my opinion, especially just to kick off the show. And I do love, again, how over LA Knight is at this point. He's still cool, and, the comeback had the fans really behind him. But, that finish, like you mentioned, can do without it, and last man standing. Hopefully, like you said, hopefully that's the end here, because I don't really know what else they can tell with this story. We all know Grayson's a prick, and we all know LA Knight doesn't, like Grayson. They've had this going on for a while now. It definitely should not make it to Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, about that. Well, we get the confirmation of the Women's Dusty Classic lineup. We get Io and Kaylee Ray, Lash Lenton and Mira Miller. Ivy, Niall and Tate and Paxley, Casey and Caden, Indy and Persia, Kai and Cho, Jaden Gonzalez, Ulysses Leon and Valentina Feroz. So out of those teams, I know the Dusty Classic is nearly over now, but which of those teams would have caught your eye?
I actually had 3 favorites here, honestly, and it was Cora, Jade, and Raquel because of the little, the vignettes going into it. I figured if you have a narrative going, that's a good sign going into the tournament. Then you have actually Wendy Choo and Dakota Kai. The only reason why is because they really interest me, and I'll get more into that later. Besides, other than the fact that they're just out of their minds, but. Yeah. And, of course, EO and KLR, I'm leaning that way. I was always thinking if EO, since they announced that they were going to be teaming together, I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. It's 2 world champions. I just, why not? But, yeah, I'm going. So KLR and EO had me the most excited going forward. But I was interested in those other two teams too.
Yeah, I think mine, obviously, we all know. Anybody listening to this for any amount of time, Io and Kaylee Ray is my pick. But like I said, the Jade and Gonzalez ziplining was a fun video. So we had, like I said, we saw cool things with them. In the first round of the Dusty Cup, our favourite team in action, Io and Kaylee Ray versus Lash and Miller, as Toxic Attraction looked on from their lounge. Kaylee Ray planted a legend with a Kaylee Ray bomb and a moon body over the moonsault from the Genius of Sky to win. What are your thoughts on this kind of basic way to start, wasn't it?
Yeah, like you said, just a pretty basic way here. Nothing too bad, But it was kind of because this was a tournament match, but I didn't really expect much, from especially when it's EO and KLR versus Lash and Amari, because they're newer and no way that the team as accomplished like EO and KLR should lose that. So the less experienced team losing handily makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Duke Hudson beat Dalsay Chen in a competitive match. Dunn interrupted Mello and Trick. Walked to the North American title match. Grimes aided him, leading to Grimes beating Trick Williams in an okay match, but you always get 100 with Grimes. We see Nikita Lyons making a debut versus Kayla Inlay. Lyons finished off with a split leg drop, but Inlay impressed me at the time. She's good. Leon does have the right look, and a lot of people were impressed with her finisher as well.
Yeah. I think I know what they were impressed. I don't necessarily think it had much to do with anything she did in the ring. But she's huge. She's going to be huge compared to like most of the women too. So, I think she can have a positive future, depending on how things go. And, but she didn't, it's just a squash match. So you didn't give her a chance to really see much. But Twitter ran wild, and that's a plus to WWE, so we're obviously going to be getting more of her. So there you go. And we'll talk about it because it's some obvious things going on there. And I think Pritchard is the one booking, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm blaming Pritchard for all of this horniness, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well, speaking of which, Indy found Duke and Persia playing tonsil hockey.
There we go.
And the bottom line was Duke has done both of them. That's what they're basically telling us.
Yes, that's literally the only thing you got to understand. Yes, Duke has definitely had both of them. Yeah. And, yeah, that's it.
That's literally what we want for the first segment. We see Malcolm Bivens took shots at Imperium while celebrating Darren Mine's Dusty Classic win, which brought out Walter, Ike, and Barthel. Brawl ensured from Bivens left lane with Walter, but Solo Sikoa super kicked him to save Bivens, but Sikoa clarified he took out Walter for himself. Yes, please. And then Dusty Classic first round, Caden and Katie versus Ivy and Tatum. And the Hills almost got the win off a tandem slam and a standing moonsault, wherever Kansas broke up the pinfall and hit Paxi with a 450 splash for the win. Nia then choked out Paxi for losing, as Roderick Strong encouraged the violence. Again, basically told a story it's Ivy getting her heat back afterwards.
Yeah, and I guess it made sense, especially for what, Ivy now is trying to get over in her character, really, tough, intense. So, taking her out there, it is what it is. But I didn't necessarily know where that was going, but, it was fine. The match itself was, they obviously reached for some of these teams competing, if you ask me. Like, I don't know. This match kind of made me think, did we need 8 teams? Because I thought it was 4 teams. The four of the teams were a lot better than the other 4. But we'll get to more of that as the tournament goes on.
Well, we'll move on to the main event, which is Master Ciampa versus Dolph Ziggler. And Dolph Ziggler showed his in-ring IQ early, grounded Ciampa, avoiding his big shot attempt. Blackheart briefly gained control with big knee strike, but the shaft planted him face first on a turnbuckle to take back initially. Ziggler barely got his foot on the rope after a big knee. Outside, Ziggler planted the Blackheart with a zigzag on the floor. The Imperial let Ciampa working with only one arm, and Ziggler managed to reverse a slow fairy tale ending attempt into a sleeper. Blackheart got to his feet though, turning position into a back stunner. The two fought to the apron where Ciampa hit the air raid crash on the apron Fucking hell, that was a big move. As Ciampa back to the ring, a cameraman struck him with a camera from behind. This set up Ziggler to hit a super kick and gain the win. Who was the cameraman? Well, it was the glorious former NXT champion, Bobby Roode, hitting the black heart. But Bron Breakker cleared the ring and challenged the two to a tag match, a brawl and Sull to end the night. I'm going to say to you, what a fucking match. And I think it's the first time ever in NXT that I was actually excited about the next episode.
Yeah, man, this had a real big match feel. You know, it had two guys who I thought belonged in the main event. You know, we know what Ciampa is all about, and Ziggler is a world champion. So, like, these were two champions, in my opinion, who put on a show here. And, you know, and like I said, I know what they can do. I know Dolph doesn't always get a lot of time to show it. So I thought this was kind of cool because I was hoping going forward that this was just how his run was going to be in NXT, that people kind of get a reminder of just how good Dolph Ziggler can be. And, you know, if you can see beyond bad booking, of course, you always knew that he was that good. But I think this match was a great example of what he can still do, and especially going in there with a guy that level of Ciampa. And I did not mind that finish this time. Like you said, Roode being the cameraman was a nice touch to me, man. And, yeah, the show ended really strong.
Without doubt. I mean, Ciampa was jacked and ripped in this. Dolph was excellent. And Ciampa did lose at home, but I can understand why. And March 1st, we start the show with Ciampa and Breakker in matching singlets in tag action against the Dirty Dogs. I thought that was a nice touch from Ciampa.
Awesome. Yeah, it was really, really cool. I love the Steiner Bros gear callback there. And it really got you kind of hyped for what was going on. I was like, oh, so we're kicking it off like this. All right, let's go, you know.
Well, and then the glorious theme, which has got a special place in my heart, considering it's my very first perfect score I scored when Bobby Roode beat Nakamura for the NXT Championship in January of 2017. I mean, it just all the good memories are flooding back. I can't believe that's 5 years ago.
Glad they didn't just change Bobby's name to Roode.
Scooby Roode would be his name. The main roster.
Right.
Just called him Scooby. Well, we get into the match. Ciampa got the first hot tag, but the Heels kept their dominance, quickly taken back over. Breakker saved his partner with a big tag. The two hit reverse Doomsday device for a near fall, which was followed by the Blackheart hitting the fairy tale ending on the show off to get the victory. Bit of surprise there, and backstage Ziggler goaded Breakker into agreeing to a triple threat match involving them and Ciampa NXT Roadblock next week. I mean, why have the Heels lose to set up this triple threat? But again, Ziggler loses a bit of advantage here. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, that part I didn't really understand with the like you said, where Ziggler was positioned. But you know, this match is still great. You know, I pointed it out once before. I hated that "This is awesome" chant because like they do it at the worst times. It was just a dive. Yes, it was a nice, exciting moment. And yes, it was hype, but like the match didn't even really kick in yet. They went to the first commercial break and all of that. But anyway, it was fine. Anyway, the match though, fun as hell. I loved it. You know, Ziggler makes Breakker's spear look like $1 million. By the way, like the selling of the spear, just the way the explosiveness. Like I mentioned all the time, how explosive he is. We talked about Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons created American football. Ron Breakker also played American football. There you go. But anyway, love the Steiner's callback. You know, like I said, the Bulldog from the top in the match too. You know, man, like you said, crazy stuff as far as the match. The match was awesome. Yeah. Like you said, Ziggler losing there to set up a triple threat. You know, it is what it is. But when I kind of also felt like they wanted Ciampa to get a little bit of that, you know, get a pin back after what happens. You know, especially if they were going to set up the triple threat. They wanted everybody to look reasonably strong going into it, I guess. So I didn't mind it too bad since I knew that they were probably leading towards a triple threat.
Yeah, I think we're about that. Like I said, really fun open. I know no one is watching NXT anymore, but again, this was good stuff. And despite Waller's refusal, LA Knight played on his ego until they agreed to fight in the last man standing match at NXT Roadblock. Yep. Yes, NXT are doing a special again before Stand and Deliver. And just after we had Vengeance Day, we get Roadblock. Are they just trying to bump the ratings a little bit unsuccessfully?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going on. You're trying to make, a little bit. I'm trying to make these 2.0 episodes, trying to give it a little extra oomph or something when you're marketing. So you say it's Vengeance Day, or you say it's, whatever, so you can try to get that ratings boost and hope people come to see. Because, again, we know the reputation of takeovers and their specials. Even when the pandemic, when a lot of people don't necessarily like those shows, I still thought they were putting together decent specials without having with everything considered, with the crowds and all that stuff that we had going on back then. So NXT, like I said, still has a great reputation when it comes to those specials or those big takeover events, and I think they try to market off that and try to use that a little bit more now. Because, like you said, to get a little bit of a boost on viewership.
Yeah, the problem with that, if they keep doing it every couple of weeks, then
right,
like how many special Dynamites have there been that I don't pay attention to anymore because I just watch it anyway. It doesn't. I don't care if it is Grand Slam.
It's just like even the St. Patrick's. Like, yeah, I understand that the holiday is here, but I was gonna, it's just Dynamite.
No, it's not special, but Right. Anyway, we continue with the Dusty Classic first round. Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta versus Wendy Chu, Dakota Kai. And Chu and Kai actually had some early tag chemistry working together to knock down Hartwell. Pirotta got knocked down by Chu's unique offense, including a super kick, and Chu hit a top rope Vader bomb. There you go. We mentioned him earlier for a diving double foot stomp from Kai, sealed the win. So again, another little bit surprised, really, that the team. But again, as we've talked about, we knew Persia and India kind of going separate ways. And to be fair, I quite like Cho and the go to sleep, as I call it. It's not too bad.
I'm so happy, bro, because I was worried. I actually thought you were going to be like some of the people I've seen on the internet who hate it. A lot of the purists who just can't understand. Like, bro, that's my spirit animal. We all want to go to sleep at work, right? It's just, I don't know. I like it. I don't really mind it as much. It's wacky, of course, as WWE tend to be. But I don't know. I was shocked though that they won still, because like I said, even though I thought like you said, even with India and Persia going their separate ways. But like you said, I thought that element was the only chance they had. The fact that India and Persia are obviously going their separate ways. They're letting them relationship issues, tearing them apart, obviously, and whatever's going on with Duke. And even you can go all the way back to when Dexter popped into the picture. Because Persia was kind of, when she was alone early in their tag team, when it didn't seem like it was going to leak into the tag team, it was, you can kind of see her side-eyeing the situation. So maybe this is long-term storytelling. In a way, I can't believe I just gave 2.0 some long-term storytelling points. But anyway.
Well, both are going to get released by the next time we do an update.
Exactly. But, whatever. The fallout from that is going to come, so we'll see. But, watching Chu and Kai work together as well as they did, that was interesting too. So maybe it's because they're both batshit. Like, I love what Dakota's doing, just talking to herself. Like, I don't know what it is about it. It's obviously like she's out of her mind, but I like it. I think it can go to a lot of places. Just same thing when Nikki Cross was out of her fucking. I love those characters. I don't understand why they can't ever just depict them in the proper way. But anyway, I'm off that soapbox.
No, because I wanted to talk about Kai's character change as well, actually, and I feel like. Yeah, I don't mind the character, but what was wrong with original Kai? Because she was pretty cool. Looked like she's
That's true
next
too.
in line for the women's championship.
I agree.
Just
I agree. I just like the brokenness of it, because that's what it feels like. It feels like the original Kai is there. Like, sometimes when she do certain moves, she kind of goes back to that place, but then at the same time, whoever this other person is she's talking to is the reason why she flip out as soon as she see Raquel or whatever and all that type of stuff. So it's just like I don't know. I'm interested in it because it is a different take on that character. Because I remember when she was not a Bayley clone, but, very, very happy, very, very, and I also like the evolution into that, the team kick, and when she had Raquel on her back, and, and when she turned on the baby face, I like that kind also. I get it. I was a fan of where she was too. So I understand that standpoint. That's a really good point. but I do not mind what she's doing. It's interesting to me for some reason. Maybe it's because I just like the Dakota guy. But yeah, I like that.
No, I say it's interesting to talk about. And Amira Miller lost to Lash Legend in the next match. Volta versus Solo Sikoa. The ring general, to exception of Sikoa's burst of offense, connected on a chop to the back of the head, then dazed his opponent. He knocked him out with a sleeper hold before hitting a pair of power bombs for the win. I don't know about you, but I thought this was surprisingly one-sided. And, of course, Solo's first loss as well.
Thank you. I agree 100%. Like, this was good for Solo because, just being in the ring with a guy like Volta and what we know what he can do is positive experience. And, but it definitely did not match my expectations. Maybe I overhyped it to myself, but I agree with you. Solo did not get much off his end until late. And then, like you said, we knew Walter was going to win, but like, and that's always the right move in this situation. But I definitely wanted this match to be, a little bit more big, a little bit more competitive, even though I still think big things can be coming for Solo. It just probably may not be going at the pace I was hoping, but I don't know, man. I think it only went like 7 minutes, 6 minutes, or something like that. So yeah. Also, so it wasn't going to be the longest match, but yeah, it was definitely very one-sided. But what do you see them doing with Volta going forward? Like, will he get an NXT title push? Like, what do you see? Because that's the only thing I'm worried about too. Is like, I think he can do interesting things, but like, what can he do right now while Imperium is tag champions? Like, what is his focus?
I feel, especially with this performance against Solo and what they're trying to do, is he will have a run at that top title.
I hope
so. Like I say, again, no spoilers for anybody that might not know, but after what happened at Roadblock, God knows
when we get there,
God knows who's going to challenge. But in my mind, with that demolition, because Solo's a guy who, especially when they lost like this, I think, well, just stick him on the roster. Because he could, imagine like Solo, and again, we don't want to fantasy book, but at WrestleMania, the Usos get taken out and Solo Sikoa makes his debut helping Roman Reigns, the title, and then you've got the debut of that guy as well. I think, again...
what the problem is? It just makes too much sense for them at this point. I think it makes too much sense for them. I want that more than anybody. I think, because you can just tell in his promos, the few matches he had, he's just as ready as some of the other people they've already brought up, and in my opinion, and I think he'll fit right in, especially with them. I don't see what's the point of not even acknowledging it. It's just, that's one of those things you have to acknowledge. It's so obvious. Everybody say "oos" when he comes out, and for a reason. Come on, man. Anyway,
it's money on the table.
I agree 100%. Yeah. He's money already, man. Just give him the rocket. But I was about to say don't change anything, but who am I kidding? But
they're gonna call him.
Anyway,
he's gonna make main roster debut as Dirk Knobthrust, or they're gonna come up with a name. They're gonna have him with wings, or I don't know. But
I don't. Who knows?
Who knows now? Harlem beat Draco Anthony in the Dusty Classic final first round match. Raquel Gonzalez and Cora Jade versus Valentina Perez and Luisa Leon. And I've got to say, Feroz, your entrance attire is game. Every time it's like, how many feathers? And I like it.
Right?
These two actually work
I love them, actually,
well together.
I actually like them. Yeah, I really like them. They're the team that I didn't know much about that I like the most.
Well, fair play for the dives to the outside as well.
Yes,
there's a couple of moments.
Beautiful.
And ever since you've mentioned NXT Toronto, this is awesome chance, I have noticed it more and more now as well. So maybe I was a little bit deaf to it, and now I'm thinking, oh shit, yeah. But Cora Jade was isolated. She had a battle through a big vessel dropkick to finally get to Big Mama Cool, who is angry, and you won't like her when she's angry. She planted Leon with a Chungunga bomb, and elevated Jade to pick her up for a splash for the win. I mean, I like this. Gonzalez is just a badass.
Yes, oh man, this was cool, man. I really like this. I thought, like you said, Faraz and Leon, gave them credit. They really looked good to me in this match, and like I said, they seem like one of the most cohesive teams out of the challenges of the people we expected to make a splash, who've been given a lot of time. Even though I know they have gotten a little time recent few weeks back, but anyway, I like this. I really like this, and I love how Gonzalez and Jade are just like best friends now because of those like video package magic, like video package. Like, oh yeah, give us a couple of those. We're all good now. But yeah, that was my favorite match of the Cup at that point. I wrote that down. So yeah, I liked it.
Right, let me see Wagner beating Andre
Oh
Chase.
man.
I know one of your favourites just getting a kill there, and then on to the main event. North American title, Carmelo Hayes versus Pete Dunne. Dunne locked in an armbar. Melo used the ropes to break up. The A champion reversed a bit of end into a cutter. And the two battled to the top rope. The Bruiserweight broke Trick's fingers, but the distraction was enough for Melo to knock him down and hit a diving leg drop for the win. And afterwards, the A champion announced he would defend his title in a ladder match at NXT Stand and Deliver. I don't really understand that, but I do like Hayes wearing T-shirts of opponents that he's facing and he's going to beat. And this is quality wrestling. Before you say anything, it's taken me a while, but I am going to jump on the Hayes bandwagon as well. He don't miss. What do you think of this?
See, I figured him in the ring, one of your favorites, get you to understand. He's the man. He can hang, man. I love Melo, man. And this era of NXT, in my opinion, like 2.0, this is when 2.0 was at its best. When especially, and it seems usually when I say that to you, Carmelo Hayes is involved. So I'm not just biased here. I'm telling you guys the truth. Just even if you don't like NXT, and I don't know if you listen, I don't know why would you be listening this deep in this podcast if you don't like it. But if you don't, just watch Carmelo's segments in his matches, and I'm telling you, that's the best of NXT in my opinion. Most of the time, depending on who he's fighting and what's going on. And really lately, it's been any time he's been on television. And you let him in the ring with Pete, a master of brutality. And like I mentioned, like we mentioned earlier, what happened to him, and we just off the heels of a match I loved, when he was Pete Dunne and everything was all right. These were simpler times. You see how you just triggered me, James, bringing up this match now that I think about it. Anyway, this was great. And by the way, Carmelo Hayes might be weaving the greatest North American title reign. If we're not already there, I think this might be the greatest one. He's beating everybody, and you can't tell he hasn't fought a slouch. He hasn't been in a feud with somebody you don't respect in the ring. So, yeah, I love Melo.
I'm about to say, unfortunately, WWE can't mention any other North American champions.
That's a great point. Roderick Strong. That's it. That's the only one.
Greatest since Roderick Strong. And I don't know if you noticed here, and for the past few weeks on NXT, obviously, they've been mentioning about tickets for the to come there to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing I noticed, especially it was the hard cam, whatever it was, but the amount of empty seats that were actually there. And I don't know if it's a case of they were sitting there and then towards main event left, but by the time Dunne and Hayes was there, you're thinking there is a problem, and we'll learn from this, or do you think they'll just carry on regardless and think, well, wait a minute, if we can't sell out a 500 plus arena,
right,
maybe people aren't interested in the product, and they'll also stand and deliver. Apparently that's going to be the American Airlines. And can NXT do a arena like that anymore?
They might have to darken, they might have to do some light tricks or cover up an entire section. You never know. I don't know. I'm hopeful, but it's gonna, like you said, that's gonna be tough. And it's in Texas. I don't necessarily know how big the NXT brand. Like if this was in Florida, yeah, you probably still could get people there because it's WrestleMania weekend. And you may still get people here now because of that. It's a lot of people who just experienced the entire weekend, so they're gonna go and check this out. But I don't know, man. You bring a very, very good point. You bring up a very good point, and like you said, if they can't sell out the CWC right now, and they can't. Yeah, it's tough, man. And I feel for them because the workers, the young guys or whatever, they're doing the best they can. A lot of them are getting put on the spot, being forced into like positions they've never been in, and trying to learn how to get better as a wrestler, and getting put in this position of just having to basically do whatever and when it comes to creative, like you never know what they're gonna ask you to do. Like when you're a worker right now at NXT 2.0, like do you imagine the type of stuff they may be suggesting for EO? But thank goodness they keep having sense enough to realize like who EO is. Like someone is fighting for EO, or maybe EO is fighting for herself. Because I swear, if they put EO in one of these stupid romance angles or something, I'm gonna throw something.
Well, I think the problem with NXT as well is they've, like we talked about, they've nitroed NXT as opposed to, you know, it was too. By the time the new talent started being used, and by the time they started doing that on a nitro, the fan base had completely neglected the product and completely left it. It wouldn't matter. Even now, if Roman Reigns was on NXT, do you know what I'm saying? I'm even thinking that. Would the ratings be that improved or consistently? It's like, what could change it? It's not like it's bad at the moment. Like we said, we've got the Breaker, Ciampa, Ziggler story.
I mean, why do you think Ziggler is here? I think Styles and Ziggler, I think that's why they were, you know, they've been there.
And it's interesting to see. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. We'll move on to the final NXT, March 8th. Of course, NXT Roadblock. And we start with a cool promo video. And it's the first Dusty Cup tag semi. It's Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez versus Wendy Chu and Dakota Kai. We see Toxic Attraction attacking Big Mama Cool behind the referee's back. Bashing her left knee and is still posting, sure she could not help her. Jade fought back against Cho, laying her out in the corner. Kai tagged in and took a hard hit that allowed Gonzalez to tag in. And while she fought, she was limping through the action. The captain of the team kick hit a backstabber, went for the KO kick. Instead, she hesitated, and it looked like she had a real problem trying to hit the kick as well as she was running round. Joe hit a Vader bomb, followed by a double foot stomp from Kai to actually get the win, and Big Mama Cool was helped to train him afterwards. This was shocking. It weren't just me, was it?
No, I was so shocked. I could not believe it. You know, I really don't. Like you said, like I told you, the video package, everything they put into it, you know, to do that with, you know, a team who I guess they've been given a little bit of time to establish, but you know, Dakota Kai the week before this said she didn't even want to be her partner, and then, you know, she kind of got forced into this, and you have the definition of a makeshift team to win this match. It really confused me, man. And since Toxic Attraction got involved, maybe that means we can get a payoff for Cora and Raquel later, but they really did all of that video packaging, best friends all of a sudden. And then, you know, they lose to the sleeping lady and the woman who talks to herself.
We can't have Mandy Rose beating Gonzalez. We can't, like I said, if it's a tag coming up, then maybe.
That's true.
You know, and this was a good match. Felt a little long, but again, I'm not going to complain about the length of a women's match, there's no doubt. And I guess
by the way, hold on. Did you see that spot where she went to sleep in the commentator?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, good. See, I love that too.
That's
I saw some people. Someone said it was ridiculous, and I was about to argue with that person, but I just said I'd leave it alone. But
the thing is as well, people, she's not really wrestling in slippers. She's got proper kind of shoes on, and then the slippers around it.
Just slippers on top.
Wrestle in slippers because you end up just fucking yourself up. But like I said, there is some symmetry to Kai pinning Raquel because you know, with the story. But they did swerve us on the final we wanted, because how good would have that been as well? And then we saw the Creed brothers found attacked outside, looking like their tag match might not happen. And then Fallon Henley beat Tiffany Stratton. Yes, another upset in NXT. I mean, my God, you know.
Not even shock. They don't even shock anymore. You remember when a good upset? Do you remember when 1, 2, 3 kid pins raised out just leg?
It's just every
feel like an old man doing that one. But yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like they don't shock you anymore, do you? Just 2.0. You never know. Don't ever call the jobber out. They tell you these people names for a reason, because the jobber will probably win. So good for Fallon, though. Good for Fallon. I have no, whatever.
Well, Carmella Hayes in the barbershop vignette talk about being in a ladder match, and we're going to start the qualified matches next week. We have a lashing out with Lash Legend. I'm just going to quickly say it comes to break them up. I think Legend says they're out of time. Enough of that. Imperial interview back They said they never taken you on this great sport by resorting to underhand tactics, but it's a shame the Creeds got beat up in the parking lot. MSK rolled up and said if the Creeds can't go, they will take their spot. Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen said it wasn't them as well and accused Legado del Fantasma attacking the Creed brothers. So, an interesting thing, believe it or not, of who did it. Could be...
Who did it?
You know, Brooks and Jensen might be a nice turn, or MSK.
They said we the good guys.
You know, they said that the good guy, MSK would they? But you think, what else can MSK do now apart from a kind of heel turn?
Hey, see, I'm glad you said that. See, when we got to the match, I was going to go say that. But yeah, that's my theory already. Like, they need something new. You know, why not give us a different take on the characters? They do something underhanded for a thing, you know. Why not? You know, I don't have a problem with it if it's MSK and they make a turn. I think that's what it probably needs to be. Somebody you don't expect. I don't think it needs to be Legado. It doesn't need, you know, it's too obvious for Legado because I think they even mentioned like, oh, you guys love attacking in the parking lot or something like that. So I was like, yeah, they do have a history in the parking lot, don't they? But yeah, so yeah, I love it. That like this tag division needed something, to kind of light it up. Other than these backstage segments they do off and on with the different teams, but yeah, so I don't mind a whodunit.
No, not at all. And then Grayson Waller versus LA Knight, last man standing. LA Knight caught Waller in the entranceway. The two brawled all the way to the ring. We seen him then walking around the staging, and then of course coming up to the I don't know what you called it, you know, like the kind of the entranceway where the cameras are as well, where we see well, they're trying to sell it to us like Grayson Waller falling from a great height, but we didn't really see anything, you know, like
it was bad. It didn't, yeah.
Sanga walk around the corner holding, you know, Grayson and them going, yeah, no, he obviously caught him. It was like, you didn't even bother. But Knight responded by cuffing Sanga to the ring post. Waller thumped Knight in the eye to escape the BFT and went for the rolling cutter, but Knight caught him and sent him out of the ring through a table. That was a good little spot. The angry $1 million megastar caught Waller in a trash can and bashed him repeatedly with steel stairs shots, giving a few to Sanga as well. Waller caught Knight with a blackjack and then hit a diving elbow through the announce table. He then climbed Sanga while Knight could not get up, taking the win. But I will say this, credit to both. I thought this was a great fucking match.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to say that I disagree that it was fine, to me. But I will say this. Maybe it was because of what I saw on Revolution. But, this is an ordinary, like, Falls Count. Like, based on what I've seen, I guess, recently. Let's just show you, I watch too much wrestling. Anyway, the street, I thought it was cool. And this is really good, especially the moments, like you said, that the LA Knight reversal of the throw him through the table like that. He almost didn't land completely on the table. Had me worried for Waller for a second. Can you believe that? Anyway,
No.
Good point. I like the elbow spot, even though I guess he's dribbling in the air. He's doing like a basketball move in the air. I guess he likes basketball. But I'm glad, like I told you, Waller took them gloves off. He's way more tolerable now. But this was cool. This was and he was the last man barely standing. I like that too. So this was nothing overly special to me because, like I said, I just seen so much crazy stuff in the last week or so. But this was good stuff nonetheless.
Yeah, and the weird thing is as well, with all the negatives from 2.0, LA Knight probably has the most special relationship with this crowd.
Yes, they love him.
He is the 2.0's Johnny Gargano.
Yeah. He's believe it or not, I think with the crowd, yes. Him, I think it's out of, it's funny who I was about to say, but between him and Cameron Grimes, at this point with the To the Moon, they're there.
Yeah,
it's funny. They both
fair,
benefited from that.
I was talking about that feud, and there's kind of only 4 that have really benefited. And the other one's probably like Bron Breakker involved in that as well,
Right.
And obviously Hayes are kind of the 4 guys that 2.0 has not been too bad for them, but
exactly, that's true.
We'll see what happens in the last Dusty Women's Classic semi. Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray versus Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. And the cohesive partnership and flex speed of Casey and Caden was half of Kaylee Ray and Io to match. Meanwhile, Malik Blaze and Idris Anofi found their way to the Toxic Attraction Lounge with Mandy Rose. And I'll tell you something, Anofi and Blade, they are slowly working on me now as well. Again, I'm not going to start liking them too much because they will be released. But, again, this is a problem with NXT. Catanzaro and Carter hitting an impressive elevated Poison Rana. And when I say impressive, it actually got me off my feet as well. When you can reverse Rana off shoulders on shoulders is pretty fucking mental. The Genius Sky broke up. Ray hit the Kaylee Ray bomb, followed by the over the moonsault from Shy on Catanzaro to win. And then Cora Jade attacked Rose and Lounge until Blade and Anofi broke it up. But I think Io and Kaylee Ray may be the coolest tag team in NXT history. I think Wade enjoyed themselves in commentary because they called themselves masturbators in this, and they were talking about more doors or wheels earlier as well. But I thought Casey was rapid, and I would love to see a match with her and Io from the exchange we got at the start.
Yeah.
What we thought.
I like that. I agree because she had moments in there with Io, and specifically, but I thought she just looked really, really smooth in there. I remember if you think about a few years ago when she was just starting out, she is way better now. You can just see the improvement in the spots that she had, and her and Caden's the way they execute stuff. I thought they're just better as a team. And this was really good. It probably wasn't as dramatic as you probably would expect from a late tournament match, but as far as this tournament goes, this was really good, top notch stuff. Kaylee Ray, by the way, just popped up after getting dropped on her head. I'm good. I was happy that she was good, but that was nice. But once again, the established team loses to the more made up team. But in this case, it's the 2 best women's champions ever. So I don't mind at all. This is cool. But I will mind if they lose.
Yeah, they can't. They honestly can't.
I will mind if they lose.
We don't mind Chu and Kai, but do.
I like them, but I don't like them like that.
No, it's yeah. Well, we want to stay friends, but we don't want to take it any further. Indy Hartwell and Berger Protter argued backstage. Duke Hudson looked on. Indy challenged a friend to a match, decided who's truly better. The NXT Tag Team titles, Imperium versus MSK. And Imperium beat down Wesley and Nash Carter early. But MSK hit their stride and ran over Eichner and Barthel. The 2 teams seem to just be getting going. And Brutus Creed arrived. They attacked both teams and stood tall. Another really moment, you mentioned it earlier about watching a lot of wrestling, but I had Impact versus NXT UK in styles here. This is how weird it was for me. But they're obviously saying Creed brothers for Stand and Delivers, but would it be a 3-way?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like they were setting up. And the match was, like you said, cool, and it was kind of, like you said, weird. I guess I get it from that standpoint. I didn't even think about that when I was watching it, but that's a good point. But the whole injury in the Creed seems like a way just to set a triple threat up. But if you think about it, who benefited the most from all of this, like I said, is MSK. They did not have a shot, and now if they get a triple threat out of this at Stand and Deliver or something, then you are come on now. It just makes sense that MSK probably are the ones who did it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping for something that they're going to unveil something else. I'll
say to you what you said to me. It makes too much sense, and I don't think WWE
and that's a great point. Yeah. And I'll never argue with that point.
And another bit of good news as well. And I guess it made me feel a little bit smug. I watch NXT UK because A-Kid is coming to NXT. A bit of a surprise, really. It looks like Kushida wants some. Here's my money. And what are your thoughts on A-Kid coming to NXT?
I was surprised, just like you said, and I think when it comes to in the ring work and all of that, oh man, can you imagine A-Kid and Carmelo? Can you imagine A-Kid? You know, I mean, I don't know now since they called since he's Butch, but maybe if he can still. I was about to say A-Kid and Pete Dunne, but you know they ruined that. Right? They ruined it. Damn it. Anyway.
Well, I did make a joke about them changing the name to A-Kid to Sundance Kid. So
yes.
if they do that, we are fucked.
Right. But exactly. It's Cameron Grimes and A-Kid. Come on. Come on. So I can think of the matches already, you know, and I can see him, you know, prospering there. But like as far as his future and what they possibly could have him doing, because, you know, it's 2.0. You never know, man. You never know. This could be disastrous. This could be awesome. So we just got to wait.
We'll see what happens. What we do know is that last match of NXT is the NXT title. Bron Breakker, the champ, versus Tommaso Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler. And the Blackheart came out swinging, but Breakker responded with a pair of clotheslines and a double suplex on both men. All three took big shots at one another. Ziggler took advantage of his opponent's fatigue for finally taking a shot, nearly getting a free off a zigzag on Ciampa. Ciampa hit the show off with a fairy tale, ending for a near fall. Break hit Ziggler with a military press power slam, but Robert Roode, yes, the Glorious again, saved his partner. He then saved Breakker from running knee, leaving the Blackheart take a super kick from Ziggler. And after 1, 2, 3, yes, your new NXT champion is Dolph Ziggler. Now, I know we've had a couple of shocks, but this was what? It's Dolph Ziggler. And I mean,
yeah, exactly. That's another thing. Like I actually by the end of the match when he hit the super kick, I was like, yes, come on, 1, 2, 3. So I had already lost it to the point to where I actually liked it. I didn't mind it at all. But you know, other than like a couple of sloppy moments, I believe that at the time the match really found its groove, bro. And like, so when Rude's involvement, I mean, it's a triple threat. I figured Rude was going to get involved at some point. So, you know, but Ziggler winning, definitely a huge shock. I was happy about it, but I was just, I like the way it was executed, you know. And since Breakker wasn't pinned, a rematch for his title, you know, possibly could be going on. Or, you know, if he's getting called up, like rumors suggest that they're considering or whatever, because he's like on house shows, I believe, this weekend. So, but, you know, he's on the main roster house shows.
Yeah.
But that would most likely be after Mania, I assume. So if Breakker is on the chase in the next few weeks, that can be fun with Ziggler. But if not, wherever we go now with a new champion, you know, I thought this was good. Maybe they did it I heard a lot of people, negative people out there. Oh yeah, they just trying to get ratings. You know, Ziggler make, you know, whatever. It was still great if you watched it. So, you know, I don't really care the motivations right now. Hopefully it plays out. We still got Stand and Deliver to come. So Ziggler will probably be involved in that main event. So what do we end up with when we get there? Can't wait to find out there. You know, this feud with Ziggler, Ciampa, and Breakker has been a highlight of this recent batch of NXT shows.
Yeah, it makes me want to tune in and see what happens. Like I said with Bron, with him, we look at him now, and I'm getting visions of looking at, you know, when John Cena debuted, and I'm going, Bron is a star, you know. It's like they have to handle him properly. Obviously, he made his debut on Raw in a tag match, but when he comes up to the main roster, big star. I wouldn't even mind. I know I talk about Solo attacking Brock, but even the next night of Mania, you know, someone like Bron taking out Lesnar to send a statement and have an eventual match. That's how big he is. As for Ziggler, this is a guy, and Wade Barrett is perfect on commentary when he says there's no one, you know, he's one of the best in the world last 15 years. Because, yeah, unlike Kenny Omega or someone like, you know, other wrestlers who have been able to have 6-star matches, you know, and given a lot of time, Ziggler's had to do or been dealt with the hand he's been dealt with basically and made it a success. And even when the team with Dirty Dogs, and you're thinking what's going on, he still won a SmackDown tag team titles and then came to NXT and done this. And what's not to like? Ziggler, WWE veteran, you got the soul of NXT in Ciampa and NXT 2.0's biggest star in Bron. Like I said, all three gave 100%. They're all fans were on the feet for the near falls and the finish. There was only one weird moment, I'm sure you notice as well.
Yeah,
It's where
exactly.
Braun mistimed his spear.
That's what I meant. Other than like that moment, and I'm trying to think, was it something else? But either way, it was like that one moment that I remember vividly. Yeah, but other than that, man, this was nice, and you're 100% right. Even to the comments about I thought that's why. Why would Ziggler be the guy now? I thought this was a new era. Well, Ziggler's never been champion, so it's technically still new. And second of all, it does it's not just about if you watch the story and understand what's going on. This it's still an ongoing thing, but for the moment and for right now, and then like I said, with his pedigree, because like you said, Ziggler has obviously always been a victim of inconsistent booking. He's always been on the wrong end of certain decisions, and when he's had chances to build up momentum and get wins, he usually loses, and then he goes, right back down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a ebb and flows, and this is one of those peaks again. And it's just like when Tyson Kidd came to NXT, and he had put on back in 2014, 2013, I think it was, and he had great matches with Neville, who at the time Pac, and over the NXT title, and kind of revived his career, and then went on to do more with Cesaro and all that type of stuff. Even if this is just a stop for Ziggler back to the main roster, it's still a positive, and in my opinion, and I don't mind him winning there. He didn't beat Breaker, he beat Ciampa, so I thought this was good, man.
Well, like I said, NXT Toronto has been, like I said, ever since we've changed update and be able to cut out the stuff that maybe getting on nerves and just focus on the good stuff, it has been a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah. Rating-wise as well, for Roadblock Edition, got 613,000 viewers on the USA Network. It's up 11.25% from last week's 5,500 viewers. Not 5,500, 550,000 viewers. And this is what I'm saying, the demo's maybe not that good. And people are going, but they think how much change. And put it in perspective, it was down 11.3% this episode last year. Only 11% down, which was headlined, this is crazy, by an NXT title match between Finn Balor and Adam Cole. And you think about what NXT has done in that year to still be kind of that close. Yeah, it's not Dynamite level numbers, but then again, like I said, it's the kind of new thing that it's got. But we'll move on now. The last thing we look at, of course, the NXT update is NXT UK. We start February 24th, and we go straight to the action with Amel versus Zaya Brookside. And Amel wrestled Brookside early on, leading there complaining. Brookside eventually came back with vicious attack and hit a running knee to the back of Amel's head as she hung in the ropes. Brookside locked her in an armbar and further wore her down until the French Hope came back with Samoan drop, running knee, clothesline and running senton. Mel smashed her head in the turnbuckle with drop toe hold, followed by a running kick in the corner and a Hope breaker for the pin and the win. I don't know what you thought about this, but for me, this is the women's division at its best. Great character work and match.
Yeah, like I said, I really like the spoiled brat thing, and like you said, the whiner that Zaya has become. And I was hoping it would lead to her picking up victories, but of course not right now with the way they've been booking the French Hope, and this run that she's kind of on now, giving her some victories, and she's picking up a ton of momentum. And like you said, this is definitely NXT UK's women's division at its best. We'll see about the payoff on both of these characters in the coming weeks. But, yeah, this was solid stuff.
Yeah, and this will send Zaya further down the rabbit hole, which can only be a good thing as well.
Exactly.
Gallus, Shah, Samuels, and Darwin to Scala's office. Scala announced that in 2 weeks, Dar would defend the Heritage Cup against Joe Coffey. Mark Coffey and Samuels agreed, and Scala proposed they settle their issues in the ring. We get a Jack Styles Mastiff at their latest lesson called Bomber Initiative. For some reason, Styles cut a hole in a Pretty Deadly shirt, so they complained, and it's presumably going to lead to a match. Then we see Rohan Raja versus Danny Jones. Jones dominated early, but Raja stopped him with a forearm. After some more offense, Raja retreated to ringside to consult his teammates. Eventually attacked Jones on the outside, took it from there. He wore his opponent down, and he followed with a suplex, and eventually hit a backstabber, followed by a seek and destroy, the pin to gain the victory. match, De Familia stomped on Jones. Charlie Dempsey briefly hesitated, but did then join in. I don't know why I like Teeman so much, but fuck me, even when he didn't wrestle, I just like what he does. We need goals for De Familia, and everybody kind of telling us about Dempsey's going to be the breakout star of this group.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious, and he's like, he just, in the ring, outside, the presence, he has a great, like you said, just that look and all of that, the way he uses facial expressions really well, in my opinion, so far, for someone who's, supposed to be younger or like newer. So, but anyway, this was cool, this entire thing. No, nothing too special, but it was a win for the Familia. Like you said, it continues to build them up, I guess. But I agree, they do need a clear goal. They need to iron out the details on what's going on. Who's going to be the one to, go Heritage Cup hunting? Who's going to be, or are they going to, break off a tag team? Who's going to be the one to finally attack, or go towards Ilya? I believe, like you said, that it's a great spot for Dempsey, in my opinion. But Tillman is the head of the family, so with some type of friction, start because of that. I think there's a lot of interesting ways you can go. We just have to see, where it's headed.
Well, we get Symbiosis, their promo video where they said they were supposed to win. Eddie Dennis whispered to them that an arrow can only be shot into the heart of the enemies when the string gets pulled back first. Tell them to keep calm and focused. I really do like Dennis. And even that quote, you're going, oh yeah, it does make sense a little bit. And then we see a truck driver drove through darkness and at a burger which distracted him from the road. He saw something and braked hard. He'd got out the truck, found some hair or fur on the ground. Some creatures ran through the woods nearby. Then scene cut to black. Some Harry Potter shit going on. And then Samuels and Mark Coffey continued to argue backstage. De Familia walked by a visibly angry A-Kid. He grabbed Dempsey, promoted Tillman and Raj to get involved. Dempsey calmed them down and asked A-Kid what he wanted to say. A-Kid said he thought Dempsey was better than that. Dempsey shrugged and said, maybe. A-Kid then walked off. Obviously, he's still not pleased with the answer he got. I do like the segments with NXT UK. That for some reason, I really do like the backstage vignettes from NXT and the kind of character development we get. And we know now with A-Kid, with Dempsey coming up, which should be a banger. And then the NXT UK Women's Championship, Mika Satomura celebration. If you pause Addy's shirt, who's not wearing a suit, just a normal shirt, looks like he's trying to ask out Miko with the flowers. Pause it
with the flowers.
It really does. He looked at a video package showing their highlights. Like I said, he presented with the flowers, and just as she was thanking him, the lights went out and Isla Dawn appeared. She got in the ring and talked about how she thanked Satomura for giving her something to desire. He said the one final trophy she lacked was the one Satomura was holding. The champion told her to just ask for a match if that's what she wanted. Isla said she's not asked, she takes. She then kicked Satomura in the face and stole her flowers. She slunk in the back and started eating them. Okay. She's still scarier than Alexa Bliss. I mean, Andy could have made more of an effort, but what do you think of this?
Oh man, this was I like it because it's a progression of what we were talking about on our last review of NXT UK about how Isla Dawn really was picking up a lot of wins, and then she started to give back a lot of the stuff. So I was like, okay, that's going somewhere. There, if she giving stuff back, that means she's wanting to take something like bigger or more important. So, and I know that sounds weird, but I know, believe it or not, I know a little bit about witches. But yeah, so it made a little bit of sense from a weird point of view. But so no, I didn't like it. I just said I didn't like it. I didn't mind it, but the only thing I thought about it was that I thought Mako kind of looked at her like everyone probably would. Like she just kind of Mako was like, okay, whatever, weirdo. Like, you want a title shot? Just ask. But yeah, so that was kind of funny to me. Her energy was just like, yeah, whatever, just let's fight. But I think it's a nice, like I said, progression from the story of she was picking up a lot of victories, so she has the momentum to now step in and challenge Mako Satomura. How that's gonna turn out, we'll see. And I did love the line of now taking now I'm after something more valuable. I want the championship. I love that. I like that little addition because it's like, okay, so now, like you just said with Dempsey in the crew, that's her defining her goal, and it's just like even if it is weird, why she eating the flowers, I don't understand. Forget all of that. She wants the championship.
Well, like, she'll fill time as well, and if Dawn wins, credit to her because, like I said, she'll be picking up victories. But I think that's why rankings in NXT UK would be perfect because then you could say, well, she's there, but they'll never do it because of AEW. But if it was going to make sense, it would be NXT UK because you haven't got big shows where you need kind of big champions, and you could have Dawn going, well, you're number one contender now. Davenport was number one. That's how rankings work.
Right.
We see Sam Gradwell's backstage looking at his bald head. He was furious and talked about his little son asking who did that to his hair. He said he sees that little cockroach, Kenny Williams, when he looks in the mirror, and Williams will not forget what he was going to do to him. Poor Sam Gradwell. Even his son doesn't love him anymore because of what Kenny Williams did. It's a horrible situation. He's had to sleep on a couch. Even his missus doesn't want to talk to him at this moment in time.
Oh, man.
Tough. It's tough. NXT UK champion Ilya Dragunov answered Nathan Fraser's championship challenge. He accepted and told Fraser he was good but not ready to become champ. He said himself had to win a battle royal and he did not win the title because he wasn't ready and his journey to the title was long and hard. He said Fraser would lose but it would be the first step on his journey. The match between two men take place next week, which is good shit. And in the main event, NXT UK Tag Team Champions Mustache Mountain versus Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter. Bate and Carter had some back and forth exchanges early. Seven was in next. Got worked over by Carter, but quickly regained control once Smith tagged in. The champ scored the first 2 count on Smith as Bate hit a somersault senton. Seven held his own against both, hitting a 7-star lariat and the Emerald Frozen, but Carter made the save. Bate was in next, almost pinned after a huge spinning set-out powerbomb. He also kicked out an assisted moonsault by Carter. We see Smith hit a top rope lariat, followed by Doomsday Cutter by Carter. What looked like the win, only for 7 to make the save at the last second. After some chaotic moments in the match, Bate and Smith were in the ring. They exchanged strikes, but Bate hit Smith with a straight left. Possibly knocked him out. Bate went for the pin, but Smith got his foot on the rope. As the ref was already counting, 7 ran up to Smith on the outside and pushed his foot beyond the referee and Bate's back, giving the champs win. I kind of dislike the finish, but I guess the story is more about what Trent will do. But
we're willing to do.
Yeah, I thought this was great tag wrestling, though.
Yes, this is good shit. This is really good. Almost right in line with what I've come to expect, especially from NXT UK's tag title matches. They're usually always really, really competitive. And I thought this was really good too. And maybe it was a lack of belief in the challenges for me, but this was still that may have played a part, but I still thought this was fine. And I thought Carter and Smith, because I didn't really necessarily ever think they were going to win, but I thought they did a hell of a job, and definitely had their moment. So I was like, at some point I was like, okay, maybe they will. Maybe it's possible, but I just thought it would be too early and with Mustache Mountain they just finally won these titles. So I was like, okay, no, it's probably not going to happen. But you didn't like it, but the finish actually is the most intriguing thing about this to me because it shows what Trent Seven will do. Like you said, when he'll do whatever it takes to stay champion. He's mentioned it. He's said it a lot, and I think it's potential there because it can evolve into full-fledged cheating. Because when you say stuff like that or when you do that, throughout wrestling history, in my years of watching wrestling, that ain't too far from turning heel at all.
And maybe,
so I'm just saying,
maybe some of us don't want that because British Strong Style used to be a group that was feared and not a bunch of Hills and Butch. All right, so maybe we want to keep hold of something that we used to love back in the day, rather than this shit. But you're right, though. Smith and Carter are getting better, and the gold is coming their way. This is the good episode. March 3rd, into the first match, it's Shah Samuels versus Mark Coffin, and the match packed with trash talk and fisticuffs. Samuels seemed to be closing on victory when he planted his foe with a variation of Michinoku driver. Samuels whiffed on an elbow drop from the middle rope. However, Coffey blitzed him with several stinging forearm strikes, and then bulldog from the second turnbuckle. After a double clothesline, Coffey blasted Samuels with a full Nathan slam and followed up with a running elbow to the face to earn the pinfall. This was really competitive, and as I said before, Charlotte looks in great shape, and I guess the Gallus boys had to win one.
Right, yeah, seems like we're seeing more of them rolling along too, though, by the way. But this was good. This is really good opening. Like you said, competitive as hell, and I like Shaw. I like that Shaw got so much offense in, man, before, Coffey made a great comeback. And, this was decent. This is really, really good. I liked it to start the show. And I agree, Shaw looked great. And he hung in there with Coffey here, and like you said, Gallus picking up the victory. I'm not really that surprised. But this was really, really a good way, in my opinion, to kick off this show.
Yeah, without a doubt. Then A-Kid talks about he's not really the person he's been acting like with Die Familiar. Tim and Raja jumped A-Kid, and Dempsey took a second to stop them, but then did join in. Isla Dawn will stand tall, win the NXT UK Women's Championship. Awesome. That's good to know. And then Mustache Mountain talked to Oliver Carter and Ashton Smith. Trent Seven said he didn't cheat. He was just better and did everything he needed to retain the title. Smith and Carter want a rematch. Tyler Bate agreed. Trent's not happy. This is not going to end well. And then we get Dave Mastiff and Jack Stars versus Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy! The former tag team champ is finally in action. Let's not forget Jack Stars earned his first victory of the night before he even reached the ring, as Mastiff bestowed the fired-up competitor with one of his trademark leather vests prior to the match to show that he had actually made it. And Mastiff had no qualms about tagging Stars in the match, unlike previous ones. Mastiff even allowed him to remain a legal man for extended periods, and Stars capitalised by launching himself over the top rope and hitting Sam Stoker with a splash. Stoker eventually recovered, but made a critical mistake when he donned a leather jacket that belonged to Stars. He paid for the transgression when Mastiff leveled him with a German suplex and chose to tag Stars in. The incensed superstar took back his jacket, blitzed Stoker and Howley with several minion strikes, and sealed the ring with a ring-rattling powerbomb to Howley as Mastiff, myself, and everybody else watched from the corner, stunned, silent. What monster has Big Dave created?
I did like that. I did like the look on his face, man. He was like, "What the hell?" But yeah, this was strong, man. This is a strong tag match, and I don't think Pretty Deadly can have a bad tag match. So I was, but are we supposed to believe that the vest makes him a different person? The vest must be magic, because he was unstoppable and. Yeah, I enjoyed the work in this match, though, man. I was surprised that the Pretty Boys lost, but, come on. This was obviously here to build up Stars and Master and that vest, obviously.
Well, I tell you something, though, and, we can laugh and all
He's
this kind of stuff. But what has Jack Stars might have the best character development of a wrestler. Main event talent. When you consider this is the man who got chopped so hard by Volta and he was just a jobber, and now he's turned into a madman and probably slap around Dave Mastiff. It's good stuff.
It's true.
This is what we want.
It's true. Yeah, no, it's true. It's definitely, you go from Ellsworth level to,
literally,
to competent, very competent, or a threat. People are afraid of you now.
Well, as I said, I wouldn't blame it at all. But backstage here, Brookside complained to her daddy on the phone and asked for help. Loved it. Great video for reintroducing Wild Boar, former partner of Primate as well. Again, they're doing it for Primate. Fucking hell. Dark Coffee Heritage Cup hype. And then the main event, Aya Dragunov versus Nathan Fraser for the NXT UK Championship. And Dragunov has risen to the occasion each time his title had been on the line. He was pushed to limit by the upstart challenger in what is arguably his most difficult title retention to date. Fraser, who seems to be sporting newfound confidence ever since going toe-to-toe with Volta, turned the spirit into effort for the biggest match of his career, shaking off a pair of German suplexes, landing a picture-perfect Hurricane Runner for two. After the champion and challenger exchanged menacing forearm strikes, Fraser hit a Hurricane Runner from the top rope, followed with a breathtaking corkscrew from the opposite corner that drew the longest of 2 counts, with the arm dangling at its side and clearly causing him great pain. The title dug deep to counter a third Hurricane Runner to a powerbomb, and soon followed by building a whole head of steam and driving his head into the chest of the challenger to seal the victory. And after the bout, Dragunov helped Fraser back to his feet, appeared to offer words of encouragement, and shook his hand as NXT UK concluded. What a match.
Yeah, this was awesome. This is just awesome. You know, what a spot, by the way, for Frazier, like you said, like fresh off the match with Walter. And then you get this, you know, a title shot, you know, and, you know, I think they view him highly. And this match was a great proof of why. And, man, I just like this, man. And he performed well. And, you know, this match definitely elevated Frazier. And what I love the most was, like, both guys' strategy. Dragunov tried to ground him, you know, because he's, like, more athletic, speedy, you know, likes to go into the air. And then, you know, Frazier did a good job of trying to, you know, using his speed in multiple times to avoid Dragunov. So, like, you know, he tried to avoid the hard-hitting style, but as long as he could. But, you know, it didn't go his way. But this match had a little bit of everything to me, man. I like Dragunov using, like, a lot of submissions because, you know, Frazier wasn't as strong at submission as someone like when he battled, you know, people in the past. He tried to just, like I said, ground them and use his advantages throughout the match. And then, like I said, they got on a roll. And Dragunov in his defenses, like the quality of their matches. If you think about, you know, Jordan Devlin, you know, you think about how he won the championship, you know, since he's returned to NXT UK. Man, he's on a nice run of a lifetime, in my opinion. So this was special stuff from both guys.
Yeah, when you think there's no special events to kind of build towards, and there was even no crowd at this moment in time, watching defend his NXT UK title is special because of everything he kind of gives to it. But like I said, Fraser faced off Walter and Ia and hasn't looked out of place. He took it up a level here, and I think the show itself had 3 big matches and really, really paid off as well. Great episode of NXT UK. Moving on to our last show, March 10th, and Dar and Coffee talked about their Heritage Cup Championship match tonight. Coffee said it would be his first match under Heritage Cup rules. We then see Charlie Dempsey was asked about where D. Familia was. He said he didn't need him for his match. It's just A-Kid and him. So, yeah, Charlie Dempsey starting us off. And A-Kid finally fought 3 of Dempsey's deadly clutches for landed a forearm strike and a wicked double arm suplex late in the bout. Moments later, as Dempsey distracted the official in the ring, Rajasani ambushed the Spanish superstar at ringside, driving him back first into the post and throwing him to the square circle. Dempsey took care of the rest, folding his phone and an excruciating bow and arrow submission to force the tap out. I will say, my commentary can't do this justice with the opening exchanges. No. If you want to see picture perfect, like catch as catch can wrestling, so to speak, watch this one. Dempsey is a bad, bad man. And with the news of the call-up, this may be A-Kid's last match in NXT. And he doesn't put a foot wrong in the ring, I would say, since joining. There was a bridge in this match by Dempsey where A-Kid stood on it. It took me out of my seat. I never thought I would have been that credible. I would have done a Gina and given this match, you know. I would have 5'5'd it.
Yeah.
Was it just me, or I just thought this was perfect?
Yeah, man, I was hyped as soon as they began, like, setting you up that this was going to happen. And, you know, I think A-Kid is awesome. So, like, you know, I got high hopes for Dempsey's future, and this match is a great example of why he's going to be, you know, just a great asset to NXT UK going forward. And, you know, I was just really ready for this match. And, you know, he you know, like you said, that opening sequence, A-Kid actually came out, like, trying to basically out Dempsey, if you know what I mean, when it comes. And, like, Dempsey's frustration grew at one point, and then that sick bridge, and like you pointed out, and, you know, and, like, but A-Kid was just always battling back, and, like you said, didn't miss a step at all. This was just very technical. It was very submission-based, but it was physical, too. So, like I said, this was, like you said, a showcase of just great professional wrestling. Like, a lot of people don't look at. I've been seeing a lot of pot shots at the WWE brand for not putting on professional wrestling. Well, it's only because you guys' attention is not on this, you know, because that was great professional wrestling. I don't care. You put that up against what anybody else is putting on television right now, And I like even without a crowd, in my opinion, I think it was just awesome. You know, but as soon as Dempsey mentioned at the beginning that they were alone, I was like, oh yeah, no, he's definitely gonna be an interference. But yeah, 2.0, you know, the call up to 2.0, and A-Kid doing this on the way out, I love it.
Well, the thing with A-Kid, just give him a manager, you know, and like he talks about with Dempsey and A-Kid here, it was just perfect, you know. And I think Dempsey will be one of the best on the planet in 10 years, maybe even sooner, you know. And I just, man. Part of me, where, like we've said, even in a week where we had an AEW pay-per-view, for me, it's kind of the most pure wrestling. And weirdly enough, the thing that probably came the closest to it was Moxley and Bryan when Dempsey's dad showed up. Imagine him in that group. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
oh my God! Don't do that! Don't do that, man. That'll be awesome. You make me want them to release him now. Almost.
It would fit perfectly, you know, like in a group. But great stuff. And that submission where he actually gaps his fingers together as he's folding him like an accordion, as JR would say. Unbelievable. That means he said Sculler was about to announce the star from the United States to appear in NXT UK, but don't worry, it's just Roderick Strong. Only joking, Roderick. Wolfgang is more than happy to face you next week on NXT UK. We get a recap of Isla Dawn versus Miko as well. And Aaliyah James was talking about the future of the title and the women's division to interrupt Turner. Fuck Stevie Turner. But I will ask you what your thoughts on Roderick Strong showing up in NXT UK.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, so they kind of did a trade, I guess. You know what I mean? In this situation. I don't have a problem with it because Roderick Strong is in a position in NXT basically where it's like, what else would he do now without the Cruiserweight title? Like, where do you focus him? Is he like world title? Like, do you want to give him a run at the NXT title? Does he need to go just fall back into the North American title picture? You know, so I can understand him just wanting to go and have a fresh batch of opponents. You know what I'm saying? And you know, NXT UK is a very wrestling based. Like what they like to book is very heavy on the wrestling, and I think Roderick Strong is a great wrestler, so I think he'll be fine in NXT UK going forward. And I can see some really good stuff. Like even if we get a possible Dragon off Strong match in the future down the line, that would be great because, like I said, if you let him just work, Roderick Strong can be really really good. That's where he's at. That's where he's at his most compelling. Is in the ring.
Yeah, I think without that, I completely agree with you there. Next match, Symbiosis, T-Bone and Primate with Eddie Dennis versus Josh Morrell and Danny Jones. And Hellbent get back to winning track in the NXT UK tag titles. They compete for the first time since November. T-Bone and Primate still the victory. Former Plant and Morrell were back slam into the canvas. And they later landed a diving headbutt from the top rope. But it certainly won't count on what happened next. While Boar returning to NXT UK, Boar hadn't been seen in nearly a year since booting from the group by Eddie Dennis. Blistered T-Bone and Primate with several vicious chair shots, although Dennis scrambled out of the ring unscathed. I did not see them making it such a big deal, but fair play. I think I was more impressed with Morrell and Jones, but, well, looks like they're going to feud with Symbiosis, you know?
I guess so, and... Yeah, I agree. So I thought coming into it that Symbiosis with the vignette, we're gonna have a new focus, something else coming on. But I came away from this match, like you said, more impressed with Jones and Morrell, and I still until you mentioned earlier that his relationship with Primate, I didn't know who the hell Wild Boar was. So, but. I don't blame Eddie Dennis for running off because the boy was pissed.
Well, it just every time it annoys me with Eddie because it's like if he was to bulk up a little bit, and I hate saying it, then with his personality and what he can do, as we heard with his promos, he could be a really big star. But again, it's each to their own. If he wants to be a manager, he can be a great manager. The only problem with that is that if you are twice the size of who you're managing, it does take away a little bit. That's we put it from DDP. DDP told us this. So it does.
Right.
Anyway, we get Nina Samuel show looking to tape another episode. They countered Emina McKenzie after they had a few words. McKenzie insulted her and walked off. And I think she should leave Nina alone. And Mustache Mountain, Olivia Carter, and Ashley Smith with a heat discussion. They wanted another shot at the tag titles, but they had a good idea. If they could beat them in singles matches first, they would get the shot. We're getting Carter versus Bate next week, which I think is a standout match of the two. And then the main event, NXT Heritage Cup Championship, Noam Dar versus Joe Coffey. And again, I'm usually quite unbiased, but I wanted Dar to win, and I was really quite worried about what was going to happen. Round one, they went back and forth early with Coffey dominating. Coffey was going for Boston Crab as a round end. In round two, Coffey dominated with power moves and a German suplex. Dar was on the back foot and unfortunately got caught with a Glasgow send-off, and he got pinned at 2 minutes 25 of the round with Coffey going 1-0 up. Round three, well, Coffey repeatedly took down Dar with waist locks. At this moment in time, I thought Dar was in serious trouble, but I forgot about the corner man of the year, Shah Samuels. He was even telling him to use the elbows and tried to use the strikes to change it up. Dar was the distraction at ringside, and Shah was a distraction as Dar had the knee bar on, but Coffey escaped. Dar then caught Coffey in a pinning combination to take the next fall at 1-1. Into round four, Dar dominated early, working on Coffey's knees. Coffey ended up on the apron and hit Slingshot shoulder block, followed by an over belly-to-belly suplex. Coffey locked in the Boston Crab with 15 seconds to go, but Dar grabbed the ropes. They brawled at ringside as the round ended, had to be separated by the cornermen, and Shah let Dar land a cheap shot as they were being pulled apart. And it's even, I don't know if it's just because the round seems more impactful. You know, like, oh, that one strike is going, that's going to fuck him up more than even a series of moves in a normal match. You know, it's really weird. Like, I don't know how they set it up. I really like it. And then round five, Dar started with a running drop kick in the corner, followed with another running kick. He went for the Nova Roller, but Coffey stopped in midair with a Glasgow send-off, but couldn't recover, and then he got a 2. Coffey hit a lariat for another near fall, and they traded strikes. Coffey hit a discus lariat, but Samuels again put Dar's foot on the rope, prompting Mark Coffey to take him out. But it didn't matter because Dar used the confusion to hit the Nova Roller and scored a deciding pinfall at 2 minutes 53 of the fifth round. Dar wins 2-1. Thank fuck Dar won. I was a great match, but then again, like I said, I'm extremely biased. What did you think?
Me too. I'm also very biased. I wrote that down. I'm very biased when it comes to Dar, but I love this match. And I also love what Joe Coffey brought and brings in the ring in general. So this match is just awesome to me all around, man. You know, Coffey started off more technical than anyone expected. Like, you know, instead of just roughhousing the smaller guy, you know, he played around with him a little bit and kind of baited him like how Dar usually does at the beginning of his matches sometimes. But in the past, you know, I mean, it started off, like I said, beyond bad for my boy. You know, I really was worried. I was worried the way it started off, you know, like you said. But like you Shah, he is the greatest cornerman in Heritage Cup history, by far, in my opinion. No one is more important. And he was the reason why Noam was able to get the first fall. He was the reason why he was able to, you know, get the distraction to take advantage at the end there. I love this match. I'm definitely biased, but this was awesome, man. I liked it.
Even Dar's little mannerisms of even go, look at the size of me, when Joe is obviously twice the size of him.
Right.
Like, yeah. But Coffey has got this intimidating factor, you know, Gallus boys on top and all this kind of stuff. My problem is if Gallus can't reach or break the glass ceiling in NXT UK, how much success they're going to have elsewhere. Because, like I said, Joe has had 2 takeover main events, one against Volta, one against Pete Dunne, and he's not won gold yet in NXT. I know Wolfgang and Mark Coffey have won tag gold, but they're the longest reigning champions in the group in NXT UK. But what's next for Gallus? You know, and with Dar and Shah, they can just have anybody. Because we could watch this every 4 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Have them in a Heritage Cup match. The question is, what's next for Gallus?
I agree 100%. I'm not sure. You know, like you said, Joe Coffey, it seems like he, you know, has not gotten over that hump. You know, and again, losing here, I don't know what they do. Like, how would you build him up to even give him a shot at maybe dragging off down the line or something like that. I don't know. Like you said, where do you immediately go here? So I just don't know. Honestly, right now, I'm just like you. I can't think of anything when it comes to what you can do for Joe. And as far as Gallus, maybe they go back into challenging for tag titles eventually. But it's like you said, I've noticed they're starting to go it alone. Wolfgang's in a singles match. Mark was alone, not Joe. So, maybe they're just going to try to go after different individual things for a while, but just still be known as Gallus. I'm not sure, but as of right now, I'm pretty sure they've been used in different areas and they're spreading them out. So we'll see where that goes. But at this point, I don't see a big things in Gallus's future as of the rest of the year, at least for right now, that I can think of in the tag division or individually as far as championship go. Now, if you pick up a few wins, we'll see in a few weeks. And like you said, Noam Dar and Shah, just money. They've mastered this Heritage Cup formula, if you know what I mean, of doing it, and they do it in different ways, creative ways, like in my opinion, so I just liked it, like I said, and I'm on the emotional roller coaster every time. That's why I love Nigel. Nigel is just like me, because whenever Nigel is usually rooting for no help, just like I am. So I just loved it. It's like when he said he was going to beat him in 2 rounds. It's like, oh, he meant 2 rounds in a row, not 2 rounds after he got destroyed the first 2 rounds.
But like you said, there's so many things there. Even the point of if Joe Coffey can pick up victories, and it shows you in NXT UK victories are important, because a bit like Isla Dawn, who's challenging for the women's title in 2 weeks, if you can get wins, you can go there. Like I said, our next update is going to be interesting, because we've got the women's title on the line. We know Roderick Strong's going to make his debut against Wolfgang. With Dar and Shah, it's just like, who are they going to offend next for them to get challenged for the Heritage Cup? That's how simple Shah and Dar can be, just to upset someone. We've already got the tag team title story going on with Smith and Carter. Of course, we're going to have those singles matches as well. But this is why I still love NXT UK, because it's even like in the 3 episodes we've had tag team titles, the setup for the women's title match, a Heritage Cup, and of course the NXT UK title on the line. And we've not even mentioned who's going to be next in line for a year Dragunov, because we've got all these other things to focus on in NXT UK. And when it does come, we're going to find out, and it's going to be quite exciting.
Yeah, they do a really good job of doing it. And like I mentioned all the time, NXT UK does a really good job of just keeping it simple. Not that it's not compelling or interesting storylines because of it. They found a way to keep it to where you understand what's going on, who's involved with who's possibly next in line. You can kind of see it coming. Like I said, you keep showing us a couple of singles matches 3-4 weeks in a row. You're obviously leading us somewhere with Isla Dawn. Same thing with a male down the line. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they're leading us somewhere. They do a really good job of just keeping this simple. They don't have a lot of time, and I think that's what benefits. That goes to their benefit, because everything they show you is important. You know what I'm saying? Everything they show you is leading to something in this next batch of episodes or whatever it is, or however you choose to watch it, leading to next week. And they do a really good job with that. And, I thought, like you said, some things progress fine. Some things you just got to let stew, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm confident, like you said, that we will always know where we're heading, because they do a really good job of preparing you and getting you ready. And matches like Dragunov and Frazier, Dempsey and A-Kid, Dar and Coffee, like I said, stuff like that is nothing like it, in my opinion. Like NXT UK, that's top tier stuff, in my opinion. And I like you said, this is one of those things I appreciate about NXT UK. Everything is simple. Everything makes sense, and then it's just in the ring. Let the workers do what they do, and I thought this was another solid batch of shows for NXT UK.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like I said, we've been so disappointed with the main roster, especially when Butch with Pete Dunne, and NXT UK can cheer us up, because at that moment in time they're fine. It's not until they move on from there they do get fucked up. So let's just enjoy what we've got at the moment, because like I said, it is very, very good stuff. But that is it. Another NXT update done. Don't forget, of course, all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Monty, where can they find you?
On Twitter at Mind Monty Pod. Monty with a Y. I had somebody ask me, "You got an I?" No, it's one Y. So I'm sorry. Monty.
That's why I usually try and do WNRJR as the easiest thing, because Roland's is not maybe the easiest name to be spelled. But don't worry, because the WNR also on Facebook and Instagram. Across all Google platforms, send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube, done podcast with all Lex clips. Podcast got the same time on YouTube. You do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify and iTunes. Subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be next weekend, where we relive and review WrestleMania 34, which was the last time Brock and Roman headlined a Mania. And plus, Monty, you were there.
Yes, I was there live, and man, that was a cluster. That particular match you just brought up, you don't know the half of it, and people were drunk. Oh man, I got stories. But anyway,
I cannot wait, because we do know. I mean, anybody's listened to podcasts with Jaxie, with Charlotte. The reason she hates Charlotte so much is because she beat Oscar. So we're actually going to find this is an origin story of hate from Jaxie as well. So it's going to be really, really fun, and I maybe even play old clips from when I actually watched the event live and was doing the podcast as well, because if I can be bothered to clip, I will say if it's you know. But it should be a fun show. And Monty, again, it's always a pleasure and never a chore having you on, especially when it's an NXT. But like I said, we've had such great response for you being on with the AEW shows and the WWE shows now as well. People really do think they want us to just do group shows every week. It's not going to happen, because some people aren't going to do NXT.
Right, yeah. Some people can't stomach it.
There's other people that have been here in the trenches who know what we went through.
Right, you gotta put in some work. You got, like what Martin, you gotta bleed with us. You gotta bleed with us.
I think on that note, we couldn't leave it on a better note than to be a part of it, you have to bleed with us. But like I said, I have been James Rose. I was joined by Monty. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.
Adios.